4th of July Eve. Hopefully, a lot of you get the day off tomorrow. And we will be here. So, Orange Hat Boy. What's up, Rosage? Good morning, JJ. Just mixing up my coffee, getting ready. Grimace, good morning. Grimace? Shit, we got a celebrity in the house. I didn't know Grimace was here. That boo, I see you. Just wait, just taking opposition today still. So I don't know if you were meant to hit the like and jumped in the box, but just opposition. Good morning, Timmy. Renee, good morning from Arizona. Good morning. Salish Sea Captain, Caffeinated Snark Monster. Good morning, everybody. Where's everybody at today? Are we all in a heat wave still? We're officially in monsoon season, so not only is it 110 degrees, it's humid most days. Cali, Canada. I still don't believe Canada's real. Our queen is on the way. 75. Oh God, that feels amazing. I want 75. That's like November for us. We'll get that in November. Washington State. All right, I like Washington State. That's where I was a Mormon missionary. So that's great news. My mom lives in Seattle, so that's other great news. If you're in Seattle and you want to meet up with my mom, let me know. Good morning from ASU. No shit, we got an ASU student here. What's up, Maddie? Good to have some ASU folks here. I used to be down on that campus. When I covered sports, I was always down there covering the football and basketball games. Jen and Felice. Good morning, Felice.
Morning.
Jen, I see you. If you need to come up, just stay in the box. I'll bring you up, but I see you on Discord now.
I want to show you something funny. Look, I believe Will made this.
The RTP could not be smaller.
It could not.
It's
Isn't
beautiful.
that great? This is our new logo.
It's really good. It's really, really good.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks,
is
Will.
Great. I think we'll use this one. I think we could have made RTPs a little smaller.
I'm surprised it's not like hidden in the branches there of or the stems of the roses. It's
Ty has a quick question, he says. Sorry, I'm over it. I just want to show you that.
Yeah, go ahead, Ty. I liked that logo. What's up, Ty?
Okay, I want to ask something because it's been all over like my page and everything.
Yeah.
So, you know a lot of the big political creators on here, right?
I mean, I know some of them personally. I've interacted with most of them, but yeah.
So you know that Harry guy, right?
Yeah.
So do you believe what he said was okay?
Are you talking about the tweet that like the guy responded to?
Him calling for the assassination of someone.
I have no idea what's going on.
I don't think. Let me pull up his.
I really don't know what's going on. So someone might need to tell me what we're talking about.
Yeah, Harry made just after the Supreme Court ruling, he tweeted something out. I'm just gonna find it so I can read it exactly.
So on Monday, it's Wednesday. I don't even know what.
Yeah,
it's Wednesday,
and of course, like every time Harry does anything, a bunch of that older millennial and men of that age go after Harry. Okay, so according to the Supreme Court, Biden could now send in SEAL Team 6 to take all of them out. He could send in the military to take out Trump. He has immunity for official acts now. Yeah, I think he's just pointing out to the Supreme Court. Those arguments were made in the Supreme Court hearings.
Yeah, it's Sotomayor's dissent, yeah.
So I think he's kind of just quoting from Sotomayor there.
I mean, don't you think that's a little, like somewhat extreme saying that like?
No, because it could be an official act. That's the problem with this ruling. As commander-in-chief, he can make those calls, right?
Okay,
and according to this ruling, official acts cannot even be questioned, not even by Congress.
But you're saying it could be. Most likely, it will not ever be an official.
Well, but that's what Harry said too. He said, according to the Supreme Court, Biden could now send in SEAL teams. He's not advocating that they do this.
Well, and Ty, let me just say something. So this started, because we should clear this up, because you're kind of making an accusation against Harry. So this started way back in the oral arguments, and it's the quote is all over Twitter. You know, people posted it that this was a question asked to Trump's lawyers during the oral argument. John Sawyer is Trump's lawyer. During the oral argument, asked, "Hey, like, what about this hypothetical?" That's what they do in oral arguments, essentially, a lot of hypotheticals. And Judge Sotomayor presented that to Trump's lawyer as a hypothetical to try to be like, "Hey, do you see how crazy we're getting here?" And he said, "Yeah, like I think that's all right," because he was trying to follow his line of logic. And then again, when she wrote her dissent that came out on Monday, she referenced that again. He is literally just saying what somebody else said and wrote. So yeah, he's not doing anything wrong. He's
I
quoting
mean,
factual information.
didn't you see what Trump's social media manager and what Donald Trump Jr. said to
Yeah,
him?
that was an actual threat, right?
Can someone
Then
tell me? Because I don't
so
know. I still don't know. I don't know what's
yeah,
going on.
Chris Lacavita said expect a visit.
La Savita.
La Savita? Okay. I
I
thought
mean,
Harry was saying it wrong, but it is La Savita. I
It's
shouldn't have guessed. I
definitely
shouldn't
La
have doubted
It's
Harry.
definitely La
All right,
Savita.
well, I'm going to say La Cavita because it just sounds better to me. Yeah, he said expect a visit. I thought that was like more of a direct threat than what Harry said.
I mean,
Didn't you, Ty?
don't you think that it's?
No, but don't you think that's more of a direct threat?
I mean, I would say that's perfectly reasonable
No,
when.
that's not my question. My question is because you came in here acting like Harry was making a claim of what Biden should do. He didn't. He said this is what he could do. But I'm wondering if you think La Savita is making a direct threat there.
No, I don't think he is.
What do you think he was saying?
I think he's saying that like expect a visit or expect
From
some
who?
sort him
For what?
for. So, do you have to say something?
No, for what? Come on, man. You came up and you asked us to be honest. We gave you honest. It's time for you to be honest. What's he saying there?
Harry's saying that
No. What's Chris Lasavita saying?
he's
Expect a visit to do what?
to potentially sue him for
To sue. You don't visit somebody to sue them. That's silly.
potentially like send
It's a
his.
direct threat, Ty. Don't be a coward here,
I'm
Ty.
not
Like
being a coward.
it's the problem I have with all of this outrage that people have for Harry is that what the outrage actually is, and this is confirmed by every conservative who has made any content about this. Every one of them is saying, "Hey, look, you guys do it too." They're not saying like this is bad. They're saying, "Oh, now this is retro, like because you did this, all the stuff Donald Trump has said doesn't matter anymore." They're trying to show like that we on our side we're advocating for violence. We're not. This is just an attempt for you and your friends to take somebody prominent like Harry and defend all of the awful things that you've said. But what he said isn't awful. How about when Trump said he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose a supporter? That's a lot more direct than what Harry
I
said.
mean, but when Trump said that, who was he directing any sort of potential threat you think it is against?
Well, essentially, he's saying I can commit violence and none of my followers will
Okay,
care.
but who?
I didn't say he made a direct threat. I said he says I can commit violence and none of my followers care, which you don't, which is why you guys still defend the January 6th insurrectionists. You don't care about violence. You don't care about any of this stuff. This is all. The sad part is this has all just become like a team game for you. It doesn't matter, Ty, for you personally, how many times you get dunked on, which is a lot. You'll never change your mind because you view this like a sporting event. You want your team to win, and so
Yes, it is
you
my team against theirs.
yeah. So you showed up today to try and get like a cheap shot. So I'm just asking you: do you care about that, or do you just want the cheap shot?
I do not believe that it is okay to, in a way, say that this person could be unallied because Biden would potentially want to. And you
So when
don't
Trump's attorney said that during the hearings, when he was asked that question, and he said, "Well, like I don't know, we'd have to address that." At that, was it
Address
wrong
what?
then?
address what?
Well, they basically the Supreme Court had to rule on this, and the Supreme Court said, I think it was Sotomayor that asked the question. I can't remember for sure. I know it was in her dissent, but they essentially said, okay, well, if the president's the commander in chief, as an official act, what would stop him from assassinating his political opponent? And that's the concern that we have here, Ty, is that that's an official act. That's the concern we have with this Supreme Court ruling. The
But
difference between the two is Biden wouldn't do any of that. Trump would.
but you're saying it could be an official act. We don't know if.
No, we know what an official act
I,
is.
but courts have to rule whether or not they believe that it is.
Sure, but what if the court rules that it is? Should they have that ability?
But I don't like to live in a what if land.
Brother, that's literally where you live. Like, we live in a what if.
Ty, you do hypotheticals all the time, like, and the point is though, when we talk about the future, right? In terms of Trump's case, yeah, there's going to be all these hearings. I'm not saying there's to figure out what is official and unofficial. I'm not saying there won't be hearings in the future. What I'm saying is though, Ty, what happened on Monday is a blueprint for how to avoid or get things in those hearings considered as official acts. It's about prefacing it and saying, coming up with your defense first, making it public and saying, this is, I'm officially doing this for this reason. Now, whether or not there are other motives, we can't examine, right? So
I mean,
it is all relevant. It's not a what if. Like, the conservative Supreme Court has made it not a what if. Like, that's what that first hypothetical Sotomayor was talking about was. It was to it was the sobering reality of, like, this is what you guys are saying. This would be acceptable conduct if we go forward with this. And they went forward with it. So,
and then another thing that I wanted to ask. This is another thing about Harry, and people have brought up documents, actual like.
I don't know why
you
Harry's so
really are
triggering for you
obsessed
guys.
with this individual.
He's so triggering for you guys.
Why does he continue to deny that he's not paid by the DNC when there's actual evidence of it?
I don't know, and I don't care.
So
I don't know if what evidence is there that he's paid by the DNC.
I mean, you could look up Pallet Management and look up all the earnings he's gotten from them.
Is Houghton Hoton?
What?
Ty,
How
this
do you
makes
spell
you
it?
look weird. I just want to tell you, your weird obsession with Harry it's making you look weird. Like, you're not up here making Harry look bad. It's giving weird. Why Harry? Why are you so focused
Because
on him? Have you thought about that?
he's being fake. He's not actually being truthful and honest with who he is.
Brother, if you cared about this at all, you literally couldn't listen to anybody on the right. Like,
That's the irony.
like Ben Shapiro, Tim Pool, Steven Crowder, Dave
some of the most
Rubin,
intelligent people out there.
every one of those people is bankrolled by a right-wing super PAC billionaire. Every one of them.
You think
Every single one of them. And by the way, Steven Crowder, moron. Tim Pool, moron. Ben Shapiro, pretty smart.
I was gonna say, not moron.
If you Dave Rubin, honestly, maybe the dumbest person in media.
So you're
Maybe the dumbest person in media. The thing that you have a problem with, Ty, is you're like, if somebody agrees with me, they are smart. None of those people are free thinkers and smart. Ben Shapiro, smart. That's
You
it.
just said
That's the
Ben-
only one I'm giving you.
You just said Ben Shapiro's. So if you have.
Yeah, one person, but not smart enough to say. Now he's finding himself in a really bad situation, right? Like, it's different though, because Ben Shapiro, you're a mark, Ty. He's leveraging you. He has made a fortune off rage clicks, of getting young white males enraged and having them click on his content. Like, that's you. He just needs your fingers.
And what about Candace Owens? She's
Yeah,
actually pretty
I said it.
intelligent.
Who is?
Candace Owens.
Yeah, sure she is. Remember that one time she went on Rogan and she's like, I don't believe in climate change, not even a little bit. And he's like, how do you explain that? And she's like, I don't know. I just don't believe in it. Candace Owens has beliefs that she cannot explain. Candace Owens, I think she's well-spoken. Maybe that's the problem. I think maybe you get well-spoken and intelligent mixed up.
This is the thing about Ben Shapiro, Ty. He is smart, but look what's happened to Ben Shapiro. He made a fortune off rage clicks, right? But then the rage and the depravity of the right keeps growing. And Ben Shapiro's Jewish, and now all of these anti-Semitic people are surrounding him. Or let's say, whether they're anti-Semitic or not, I'm less about, but people who are getting clicks off of being anti-Semitic, right? And guess who's one of them? Candace Owens. Someone that
That's why he
worked
fired
for
her.
him ended up doing this, and he's like, hey, like, can we not be anti-Semitic? But it's like, Ben, you've decided to work in this MAGA cottage industry and make money off rage clicks, and now all these people are out of control and saying horrible things,
I mean, that's what Harry's doing, making.
and now he's trapped in the middle of it. So Ben Shapiro is probably in the situation like that he's designed for himself and deserves to be in. He's literally cornered by anti-Semitic people. That's literally why he had to part ways with Candace Owens, because he's like, hey, can you stop saying anti-Semitic stuff? And she's like, oh, I don't know.
I mean, Harry, Chris, Parker,
What
and
about him?
and Dean are all like making money off of like race.
You're
So
obsessed
am
with
I.
these
So
people.
is Felice. They work their ass off, man. I don't know why people think that you can't make money doing political commentary. It's a legitimate job. It's
I,
very difficult.
I
Like, do you
honestly,
have any idea how much time and effort goes into this? Felice and I spend, I mean, all night last night. We're talking last night. Then we both wake up by 6 o'clock every morning, and we're working again. Not only creating videos, but creating outlines, sharing articles with each other, making sure that we have context. I would argue that Felice and I and Harry and Dean and Parker work harder than most of these losers that keep saying like, oh, it's easy to make money on the internet. It's easy to just say what you want to say and be popular. No, it's not. You know how many
so,
people have tried to do what Harry's done, what Chris has done, what Parker's done, what Dean's done? A lot. And how many of them were successful? Not very many. It's
have you
incredibly difficult. The barrier to entry is brutal.
have you heard of guys like Will Powers and that like
Ty,
young?
did you hear what he said?
Yes,
did
I
you
know.
did
Yeah,
you
What if
hear
you
any of it?
responded to things
yeah,
we said?
yes, I know. He said it. You said it's incredibly difficult to
Well,
do
look,
what.
I mean, you're on the internet probably as much as they are. You're not making money. You're not
I,
garnering a following. It's difficult, isn't it, Ty?
I don't. I'm not trying to. I'm just.
I didn't say you were trying. I said you're not gaining a following.
No, I'm not trying to do
Yeah,
that.
well, see, that's the problem. It's difficult. You spend just as much time as they do.
Not as much because I work.
When? When? You're, I mean, I'm sure you work, but you spend a lot of time on the internet. I actually
Yes.
take it back. I do think they work harder than you.
I mean, during the mornings, but during the afternoon,
Hi,
I.
if they really wanted to be rich, especially because they're young, like at the beginning of whatever career in life they're going to have, they would join MAGA. That's how you know that those are honest people. Because if this was just about capitalism, if they were just like, how can I be on the internet and make the most money? None of them would be on the left. There's so much less money over here. They could be making fortunes. Young guys that like are super popular on the internet spewing MAGA rhetoric, they would be so rich.
I
They
mean,
choose to remain or make significantly less money every single
you
day.
haven't heard all the people like Will Powers and that young Jeffrey guy
We
debunking all
debate.
of you
Will
guys.
was on here yesterday. You probably would have liked it. He was
We
here
just
for.
took. Will's nice, but we tore Will apart for an hour yesterday. Yeah,
Good.
this is a problem, Ty. You don't listen for comprehension. You listen for confirmation. I like Will. I think Will's actually really smart. Probably one of the smartest people on the right.
I
Honestly,
mean, I'm not saying.
I was impressed with him.
I'm
But
not saying
he's
he's
I
evil.
got the same
but I also
impression.
think he'll be on our side not that far from now.
You think
I
so?
think he'll make the switch. He's too smart to stay there.
I mean, we'll have to see. But it was nice talking to you guys. I'll see you guys later.
He said goodbye this time. That is an improvement, Ty. That's an improvement. We're getting better. Your social skills are developing.
By the way, and yeah, by the way, Jen sent me a message, just a reminder that these people that they say Harry pays, these management teams, that pay him, he pays them. They get a percentage of what he makes. It's not the other way around. What's up, Steve?
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. Doing a great job.
Thanks, brother.
So my question is, I was actually trying to go on a MAGA live. This guy that's doing it claims that was a bleeding heart liberal, and now he's all for Trump. He's like in his 60s. We're always surprised. Anyway, I'm a Biden supporter, Democrat. What I don't understand is the MAGA people were so up in arms about quote weaponizing the Justice Department with what Biden has done. They think
Yeah.
the problem with that is you would think if you really believe that, then you wouldn't be so happy about the Supreme Court decision, and it's all in the eyes of Trump. But we're talking about not just Trump or whoever is president. You know, I mean, it's dangerous when Trump gets into power, but it's all good when it's your guy. It's not good when it's not somebody you believe in. So I don't know how to make that. It seems ironic to me, and I don't know how to.
What's the question though? I don't. You didn't ask a question that I heard. Did you ask a question, or did you just make a statement?
Do you think that's hypocritical?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Obviously.
I mean,
I think it's obviously everything they do is obviously hypocritical.
yeah, I'd say the same thing. Obviously, I think, and I'm gonna drop you down, Steve, just because we're trying to do op only. But to answer that, yeah, of course it's hypocritical. Like they're talking about revenge all the time. Donald Trump desperately wants a weaponized Department of Justice. He just doesn't like that it's being used against him, and it's not even weaponized against him. Again, they've tried to connect Joe Biden and Merrick Garland to these cases, and they can't. Like the closest they have is somebody who worked there, like left and worked with Alvin Bragg in New York. That's as close as they've gotten. So yeah, of course it's hypocritical.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the point, right? Trump wants nothing to be directed at him, and he wants to direct everything at other people. I think that, yeah, it's very ironic, right, that he's running on retribution. That is like, and when we say like, yeah, Agenda 47 is on his website, but like Trump can't speak coherently to any policy or how it's going to be enacted. So like what I think of Trump's platform, think when you watch a Trump rally, what he's really running on, it is retribution.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Grievances and retribution.
Taking the Department of Justice, taking the DOJ and using it. And he always says those like eerie things like, oh, well, if you guys don't want Biden to be in jail, there better be presidential immunity. He says that all the time on Truth Social, all the time. And because he is a hypocrite.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, look, we've got a lot of stuff to cover today. We're going to talk about this dynamic duo here, the best of friends, Mr. Donald Trump and Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. Good friends, like-minded individuals, spent a lot of time together, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Did I not charge my phone? As always, above Felice's head, there's the Cash App and the Venmo if you'd like to send us a message, a dad joke, or just be mean to me. That's the spot to do it. If you're opposition, you can jump up in the box at any point. However, today we're going to try and get through the stories before we jump into opposition. So if we're in the middle of a story and you want to comment, just wait. When we're done with that story, we'll bring you up. I think. Oh yeah. So Ryan sent a message today for Jay and Felice. You two are the fucking best. Thank you, and I appreciate the permission to curse this early. From Cindy, these MAGA boys reach so hard to get Harry. He is the most triggering person to conservatives. I think that was yesterday. Make sure I got all these. There we go. And Doug says, once again, thank you for all you do for us. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. All right, Felice, take it away.
Hey, Nemo. I just saw him in the comments.
Hey, Nemo.
No, take what away? I think we're okay. So, Jeffrey Epstein. Well, I have let me work
That's
backwards.
a bad transition. My bad.
Let me work backwards here. I think that I just wanted to say or acknowledge, which I don't think I mentioned it yesterday because we were debating so long, but last night Rachel Maddow interviewed Stormy Daniels, if you didn't catch it, and it's a super good interview. I still have it's 2 hours, and it's interesting because it was recorded and then they went back and like did some fact checking of it, which like bolsters Stormy's story. It's super interesting. So and there's powerful parts, like there's the part Rachel Maddow plays the prosecutor Susan Necklace, who was basically, slut shaming Stormy Daniels on the stand, and they actually have the transcript, and Stormy's herself and Rachel Maddow plays Susan Necklace. So I think it's super powerful. So I'm thinking Friday, we're off tomorrow for 4th of July. Friday probably we'll go through that, but not the whole 2 hours. Obviously, I'm gonna look for like the different parts that I think are the most powerful and will be interesting to see, because I have a couple clips from it, but after then when I started watching it myself, I was like, oh no, we need to definitely go through some of this because it is super powerful. So yeah, we'll do that Friday. What else? So depending on what we get through today, on Monday, hold on, I think I already have it open. We can put articles 1 and 2 in the Discord. But this article I'm reading, this is the Washington Post article. It's called Judge Releases Epstein Grand Jury Records. Thanks, Sully. Good morning. That was cool. I've never seen that before. Jellyfish. Thanks, Jeffrey. Judges release Epstein grand jury records from criminal case in Florida. And this is really interesting. Like, I don't want to see, because not to say that Ron DeSantis is a coward. No, not to say that. So
We would never say that.
some might say Ron DeSantis is a coward. You know what I mean? And like after he ran for the primary, spent hundreds of millions of dollars in Iowa, lost, and then crawled back to Trump, and kissed the ring. Well, it's just the timing of this is interesting. I don't know if you guys remember during the last like Epstein dump, which was like in January. And at that time, DeSantis was not being friendly to Trump and had said like, "Oh, we're changing the laws in Florida, and we're gonna start releasing like grand jury records and all this and that." And he, this is one of his. He has a super majority in Florida, so they just shove laws through, and this is one of the laws he shoved through to change the laws so they could make like grand jury records and stuff. And they had a hearing scheduled for like a week from now, or yeah, a week from now, to talk about releasing these records. But today is the day that DeSantis's law goes into effect, right? Or yesterday. I mean, whatever day these came out. That's what it means.
Yesterday.
Yeah, whatever day these came out. And he literally on the day that DeSantis's law goes into effect, there was on the docket a hearing to talk about releasing these, and they just got put out. Like,
And we want to make sure, just as we cover this information today, we understand there are no current charges against former President Trump. We understand that these don't necessarily mean convictions, but what's interesting to me is like the tiny things that they'll take for Joe Biden to smear him. Those same people will ignore all of this. So we just want the information to be out there. You can make your own decision on what level of guilt Donald Trump has here, but we just think it's important during an election that people know the information. They know what the candidates have been accused of.
well, and this is just me personally. Like, I just think this is another like instance, and a really bad instance, right, of rich people doing something, very rich people who the justice system is designed to protect. That's what this is about. This first article, the Washington Post article, if you're not in the Discord, and it's called Judge Releases Epstein Grand Jury Records from Criminal Case in Florida. This article is just about the story of the trial and what you realize in these grand jury records. Like, I'm not talking about Trump. Like, I'm talking about rich people who are influencing the justice system. It's about these records that were released are about how children, or victims who were children, little girls, were painted as criminals on the stand to poison the grand jury against them, so nobody would take this case seriously. Like, that's the real story. Like, and this is not going to come as a shock to no one, Trump's name was all up in there. Like, and of course MAGA will not hold him accountable at all. They're the ones that made such a big deal of all this, and they're always like, oh, people are sniffing kids. Well, if you want to protect kids, you could hold people accountable that were involved in this case, but you're not going to.
Yesterday I was going through the Clarence Thomas confirmation hearing and the hearing that Joe Biden presided over with now I forget what is her name again. That is embarrassing. Anita Hill. And what's interesting is the defense from MAGA and the defense from conservatives who get caught abusing women or abusing children. It's always the same. It's always the exact same response. It's, you guys are disgusting. How dare you accuse somebody of this? we would never do. And even the ones that wind up guilty, they all use this same defense. It's always victim blame, victim blame, victim blame, and you're going to see a lot of that today.
Yeah, so I just want to go through some of this. So a judge in Palm Beach County, again, right? Jeffrey and Donald both lived in Palm Beach, right next to each other. Released transcripts from the grand jury proceedings in Jeffrey Epstein's criminal case in Florida. Long sought after records that show how prosecutors attempted to paint two young women who testified as criminals rather than victims of who testified as criminals rather than victims of sexual abuse. Like, that is the story that these documents are telling it. And then the stories around it, and I mean, all of this is sad and disgusting, but this is an indictment on the Justice Department in Florida. So he ordered, Judge Luis Delgado ordered the records released on the day a new law signed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So MAGA, if you want to blame somebody, blame Ron DeSantis. Took effect, permitting grand jury records in the 2006 case to be made public. But it's interesting because it sounds like they specifically did this for this case. Listen to this. Palm Beach County Clerk of the Courts, Joseph Abruzzo, who tried for 3 years to get permission to access and release the records, said the public and victims have the right to know how the criminal case unfolded. Quote, "We felt this was such an extraordinary case and of such public interest that we changed the law for this case. The public and the victims specifically want to know how he was able to get a slap on the wrist and go on for decades continuing these heinous acts to hundreds or more underage girls or women." And like, that's the point also, this story, not just how they paint in order to get all these powerful men out of trouble, like painted the victims as criminals. They also knew about this, right? It's about when they knew that he was, allegedly raping young girls or assaulting young girls and did nothing about it. Like, that's the other really disturbing part.
And by the way, we're talking about Epstein at this point. So just if anybody's just jumping in, that's who we're talking about. These are not necessarily the charges against Trump. We will get to the accusations there.
Well, yeah, and I'm talking about, to me, this is what this is about. It's very disturbing to me as an SA victim. As a child, anybody, any institution that's helping to cover up abuse. So I just want to remind everyone about Epstein's little sweetheart deal. So Epstein pleaded guilty to soliciting prostitution and was sentenced to 18 months in jail in 2008. But he was given a lenient work release deal, which, listen to this, which allowed his chauffeur to take him to his West Palm Beach office every day and eventually to his own home while still officially in the custody of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. Like, everyone's wondering if Trump's going to go to jail. This is how billionaires go to jail.
Yeah, like, it's a guy that gets 18 months for bringing underage girls to his house, right? That's where most of this was happening. And for his release, he's like, oh, you can have a chauffeur and you can just go back to the scene of the crime. You can live there and also make sure you still keep working.
Yeah, and so former Miami U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta, who later became Donald Trump's labor secretary, approved a secret agreement in which Epstein pleaded guilty to lesser state charges rather than face federal prosecution. Epstein had to register as an S offender, but suffered no other legal consequences for years, despite lawsuits from multiple women who said he had abused them when they were minors. And then there was, if you guys remember, and you can look this up because there's a lot of information. In 2018, there was a Miami Herald investigation, which started to bring up again how in Florida this case had been handled and shoved under the rug. And then in July 2019, Epstein was taken into custody in New York, and then the charges of the S trafficking conspiracy, and then all the charges about him abusing the girls in Manhattan as well as Palm Beach. And then on August 10th, 2019, I'm just taking us back through history before we tie all this, before we talk about Trump. And then on August 10th, 2019 is when they found him in his cell. And another just interesting thing I want to remember, one of the other like weirdos in this case, his name's like Jean-Luc Brunel. Do you remember? He's like
Yeah.
the guy that owned like one of the main modeling agencies, if you will, that was like funneling girls. You know, he also ended up unalived in his cell in 2022.
Right. Self-inflicted, right? I believe on that one.
Yeah, well, so I mean, that's what they say
So they
about
say,
Jeffrey
yeah, I
Epstein.
guess that's
Yeah,
true.
like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? They,
Point. Yeah.
it's I'm
Good
just
point.
making the point that two people were ended up unalive in their cell. However, and then the next year, so he was found on August 10th, and then the next year they charged longtime companion Ghislaine Maxwell with S crimes, saying she had helped recruit the girls. Blah blah blah. And the 158-page transcript includes testimony of two of Epstein's young victims. They explain how Epstein and his assistants, you know, that whole story. I don't really need to get in that. There's one piece that I found interesting here. Like, oh, okay, yeah, here it is. Here's the disturbing part. I just want to get into some of the examples of how these witnesses were being or painted that they did something wrong. So Assistant Lana Belolovic asked both girls questions that appeared to be an attempt to undermine their credibility. I'm talking about, this is what's in the grand jury testimony. Quote, "You're aware that you committed a crime?" she asked one of the girls who was 14. When Epstein sexually essayed her during the massage he paid her $200 for. "Now I am," the girl answered. "I didn't know it was a crime when I was doing it. Like, I don't know. Now I guess it's prostitution or something like that." Belolovic asked the second girl a similar question. She asked whether her father knew what she was doing to earn hundreds of dollars. The girl said she hid it from him. And that this is Belolovic's response. "You understand that you, in effect, were committing prostitution yourself." These are children. We're talking about children.
Yeah, it's like we'll see the pattern of this, but it's always smear them. Like, sure, if you want to say that that girl committed a crime, fine, but like, who facilitated that crime? Who was the one facilitating that? Like, imagine blaming a 14-year-old girl for the actions of your client. Like, I don't even know how, as an attorney and as a human being, you could even take this line of questioning. I mean, I understand you got to give your client the best defense that they can get, but this isn't it. This isn't it.
Yeah, so Abruzzo said those types of questions diminish the girl's credibility, something prosecutors rarely do in front of a grand jury. Rarely do, but did it to children. At one point, Belolovic brought in an investigator to testify about what the girls posted on their MySpace accounts. MySpace. Remember MySpace, guys? As well as prior trouble with their families and the law. Quote, "And does her website also include pictures of her in skimpy attire, drinking alcohol, and sexually provocative photos?" the prosecutor asked. "Yes, ma'am," the investigator responded. Belolovic could not be reached for comment for this article. Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah, remember that sexually provocative photos are objective, right? Or subjective. Now am I
Subjective.
Yeah, subjective. Sorry. If you look at them and it's provocative to you, that's you. You're the one that finds them provocative. Like, there are people like Jeffrey Epstein, even them bringing up just that they're wearing skimpy attire. That could be a bathing suit, right? That doesn't necessarily mean provocative, but that's what's interesting about this court case and the victim blaming and what we allow. Like, why does that matter? It should not matter what a 14-year-old is wearing. That should not. That doesn't add to the case. That doesn't mean that what Jeffrey Epstein did was okay. That doesn't mean that they lured him. They cannot consent. They're 14. None of this stuff matters, especially with children.
This is the two-tier justice system. When DeSantis signed the law to release the records in February, 3 of Epstein's victims stood alongside him. And this is a quote from that press conference. "I can't express enough how we've all been so affected by this," Haley Robson, one of the victims, said. "And I know for the regular average citizen, it's just the time that goes by. A lot of people tend to forget, but this is not something we should be forgetting about. This is not something to be sweeping under the rug. A lot of us are still in therapy. We're still trying to survive." Another victim, Jenna Lisa Jones, said releasing the once secret records was important to get the full picture. We have been left in the dark for so long with no answers to what is going on and why things played out the way that they did, Jones said. State Rep Peggy Gossett-Seidman, who co-sponsored the bill to allow the records to be released, noted that the two victims took their own lives that two victims took their own lives in recent years. Not these two, I don't think, but just to be clear, there have been two of these victims because they haven't been believed, because they've been lied to. Yeah, it's pretty disturbing. This debacle should never again be allowed to occur in the court system, she said. It's quite disgusting, and it shouldn't. And do you want me? And then I thought we'd do your Midas Touch video. Do you want me to add
let's go to that. Let me read a comment from Pizza Box Polly. For the Empress for Biden, a MAGA puppet has converted. I assume that is somebody on TikTok. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who that is, Pizza Box Polly. But if you want to DM me who that is, I'm not sure. That's great though. It's good to see people converting. Tanya said, do you know if these records being released will cover the super secret middle of the night Epstein plea agreement in the 90s signed off by Bill Barr and name the unnamed co-conspirators? I don't remember if anything we have covers that. I'm trying to think off the top of my head if any of the articles we have on our... I don't know if we have any articles covering that or not.
Do you mean in our outlet? No, I don't know what I'm a little confused. No, what this is documents released by the state of Florida from the grand jury. So it's the grand jury, what happened in the grand jury when the prosecution presented the case to the grand jury.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Bill Barr involvement.
It sounds like
here.
you're talking about something federal.
Yeah, send it to me.
No,
well, it would have been in the 90s.
This is Florida grand jury files from how Florida handled this case.
I'm not sure.
And just to be clear, I haven't gone through all these records. I mean, there's hundreds of pages. I have not personally gone through them, but it's specifically, this law was created in Florida by Ron DeSantis because if you guys remember when he was running in the Republican primary, people were asking a lot. This was being talked about. The records dump in January had come out, and this was sort of one of his campaign promises that he talked about was transparency and getting the Epstein records out. This was important to MAGA. This was part of the platform he was running on. And what he has control of is obviously not federal records, but he has control of, what happened in Florida, in Palm Beach County. And these are the grand jury records.
Right. Sorry, I was mid burp right in the middle of that. All right, let's play this video. This is from Midas Touch. The reason we wanted to play this video is I was gonna clip it, but it's 15 minutes, and it just does a good job of laying out the involvement of Trump and his weird behavior with children, which I think a lot of times when we have a debate or when we're discussing these things, we've all heard these things, but the way Midas Touch laid them out and the way they told the story, I thought was really powerful, and it goes to show just the lifetime that Donald Trump has spent being a creep, and a creep with underage girls.
Yeah, that pretty much covers that. So I wanted to just give the background on why these records were coming out, what they were, and the disturbing parts, because that's the real story here. This is about how children were painted as criminals and essentially silenced. It's about when they knew about this stuff and didn't do anything about it, right? That's why it's important the state of Florida released these records. And then, and this will essentially be, he's going to now talk about how Trump is involved in these records.
Donald Trump's name appears again and again and again and again in the new document dump that just took place of the grand jury documents relating to criminal proceedings against Jeffrey Epstein. You'll recall back in February, the Florida legislature enacted a law, it was signed into law rather, by Governor DeSantis to release the criminal grand jury files of Epstein. Circuit Judge Luis Delgado ordered the 16-year-old documents released, writing that details in the record will be outrageous for decent people. Nearly 200 pages of documents have been released containing details of Epstein's crimes, including first-hand accounts from victims and specifics about payoffs to underage victims. And take a look whose name appears over and over and over again in the call log. As one commentator wrote, prior to marrying Melania in January 2005, Trump was calling Jeffrey Epstein in 2004 on the regular. We now have the phone messages between Epstein and Donald Trump, the phone message log. That is, and this is in connection with the West Palm Beach indictment of Epstein that was released on Monday. His messages are in between girls calling to confirm massage appointments and messages from the disgraced modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel. It should be noted that Jean-Luc died by way of suicide in prison in 2022. Just take a look right here of the message logs right here, and you'll see, for example, Donald Trump's name appearing again and again and again, and we see it over and over right there. Around this time period, we are also aware from some reporting around that time, and actually in about 2019, 2020 as well, that Donald Trump was looking at real estate property with Epstein as well in the West Palm Beach area. And this is not surprising. They were very, very close friends. Donald Trump had remarked about Epstein in an interview with New York Magazine in 2002 that he thought Epstein was, quote, a terrific guy, and noted his penchant for pursuing women on the younger side. A direct quote from Donald Trump. This is undisputed. Trump said of Epstein in 2002, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy," Trump told New York Magazine. "He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them on the younger side." We know already that Donald Trump was also on Epstein's flight logs at least 7 times. Here are the receipts straight from the court records in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. We see Trump's name over and over again. Also, we know from deposition testimony from the women that were trafficked by Epstein that he would bring them to Trump properties. For example, here's a deposition, page 78, of a woman who was trafficked, and she says, "So we're sitting there, and the pilots told me to go back and tell him that we can't land in New York and that we're going to have to land in Atlantic City." Jeffrey Epstein said, "Great, we'll call up Trump and we'll go to, I don't recall of the name of the casino, but we will go to and a Trump property." Also, here's photos. Donald Trump would bring his kids around Epstein. Donald Trump would go clubbing, hang out, party around Epstein all the time. Multiple pictures there. Also, Mar-a-Lago was used in many ways as a way to bring women to Epstein. For example, Virginia Giuffre, a woman who was trafficked by Epstein. Epstein found her at Mar-a-Lago. That's where he was able to recruit her from. Here's an article about that from Reuters. Later in her childhood, this is about Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's victims. She was in and out of foster care. By the age of 14, she was living on the streets, where she says she found nothing except for hunger and pain and more abuse. It was in the year 2000, while attempting to rebuild her life, she met British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, and where ultimately she met her was at Mar-a-Lago. She was working in Mar-a-Lago. I think her father was one of the groundskeepers at Mar-a-Lago, and Giuffre was working there. She met Ghislaine. Ghislaine introduced her to Jeffrey, and the rest was history there. Around this time period as well, Donald Trump was doing some other activities.
And I mean, just quick, and then Jay, if you have any thoughts. But again, MAGA, if you guys want to discuss any of this and tell us your feelings, thoughts, or factual information around this, we are more than willing to discuss it with you.
Yeah, I would just say that whether you want to take these facts, and these are facts, it is a fact that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were good friends. It is a fact that they spent a lot of time together. It is a fact that Donald Trump rode on his airplane 7 times. It is a fact that they went to Trump's casino and called Trump beforehand to bring people in. And there will be more facts laid out here. I guess it's fine for everybody to make their own judgments on what this means. But what I would ask you is how much of this has been lied about? If all of this was true, and it is, these facts are true. If all of these facts are true and they've been reported for years now and unconfirmed, and Donald Trump and every one of you came out and said those are all lies, I need you now to ask yourself, why were you lied to? What would make a person lie to me about things that are true? When they tell you that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were not good friends and that he was thrown out of Mar-a-Lago because he hit on a little girl, notice that won't be in here. But what will be in here, and what is in this case, like, it will show you there were real estate disputes that caused the rift between Donald Trump. So just as you hear this, remember that everything you're hearing now, the right has been lying or defending, saying none of this happened. And now that it happened, they're going to have to figure out a way to spin this. We all know they're not going to change their mind. For those of you who are here from MAGA and say, it doesn't matter, we're not changing our mind, yeah, we know. For you laughing and saying like, oh, it's Midas touch, that's so funny. Yeah, we know. You're not listening. You are not our target audience, but you are going to be here and be triggered. It's going to be a tough day for you. But we understand you don't care what Donald Trump does or what he did.
And Ben Meiselas is a lawyer, right? He's subject to the ethics of the Bar Association. Like, he can't be out just lying. And this is factual information. I just want to, again, like, all of the, he's taking us through, right? The relationship started with different call log messages, right? That I guess were related to the dump that happened. But he's just taking us through factual information of Jeffrey and Trump's relationship. But like he's saying, and he's telling you which sources they're coming from. Like, what he's talking about, the Atlantic thing, that was in the last dump of documents that came out in January. Some of the other stuff was from before. Some of these are news articles, right? He's talking about the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Trump.
And Adam sent a message through Venmo, best duo on TikTok. Thank you, Adam. If you want to send a message or a donation, right above Felice's head is our Cash App and our Venmo.
Guys, tap the screen too. Tap, tap, tap.
And Jen wants me just to remind you guys that we are only taking opposition. So if you're in the box and you're not opposition, just hop out. And then we're going to try and get through each segment before we take opposition. So if you are opposition, just be patient for a couple minutes. I promise we'll get to you. And look for Jen. When Jen asks you, when she tags you and asks if you're op, make sure you respond. Otherwise, we can't bring you up.
Oh, and I just have to mention this because I just saw someone said, if the Pope it was Coyote. If the Pope came out as a Republican and ran for president, we demonize him too. No, if factual information about people, we are listening to Ben Meiselas, a lawyer who is subject to the ethics of the bar, say factual information about the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump.
Also, brilliant choice of a person as the Pope. Yeah, like I would have a problem with a person who has been a leader in the Catholic Church running for
Absolutely.
president. Yeah, somebody that high up in the Catholic Church, absolutely we'd be having this same conversation, except for the examples would just be different. The examples would be all the abuse that was overlooked and facilitated by the Catholic Church. So
it's very ironic. Yeah, it's very ironic that you used an example of another man who's covering up the abuse of children. You know what I mean? Like, it's very, very ironic. Not very similar to the situation we now find ourselves in.
like this as well. This was an article about Donald Trump's behavior in 1991 with
Oh, and I just wanted to quickly, because this article is pretty weird and disturbing. So if it's in the outline, I put it in the outline. I looked at it. This is a Guardian article from 1991. It's number 3 in the outline. So if you want to just put that in the Discord for anyone that wants it. If not, yeah, it's called Teen Models, Powerful Men, and Private Dinners when Trump hosted Look of the Year.
the Look of the Year competition, Teen Models, Powerful Men, and Private Dinners. This is from The Guardian, by the way. When Trump hosted Look of the Year in 1991, here's how it was described by The Guardian. On September 1991, a large private yacht cruised toward the Statue of Liberty. It was a clear, breezy evening, and from the upper deck of the Spirit of New York, a golden sunset could be seen glinting off the Manhattan skyline. Downstairs, a party was in flow. Scores of teenage girls in evening dresses and miniskirts, some as young as 14, or I actually think younger than that, danced under disco lights. It could have been a high school prom were it not for the crowd of older men surrounding them. As the evening wore on, some of the men, many old enough to be the girls' fathers or even grandfathers, joined them on the dance floor, pressing themselves against the girls. One balding man in a suit wrapped his arms around two young models, leering into a film camera that was documenting the evening. Can you please get some beautiful women around me, please? The party aboard the Spirit of New York was one of several events that Donald Trump, then 45 years old, attended with a group of 58 aspiring young models that September. You want to see what they look like, the aspiring young models who are 14-year-old and I think were younger? Here's a photo of them right here from the competition that Donald Trump held. I'm going to just pause right here and keep this picture up. This was the event that Donald Trump held. These were the girls that Donald Trump was hanging out with in the 1990s, based on this Guardian article, that were on this boat trip that Donald Trump was sponsoring and had for this competition called Look of the Year. So utterly despicable. By the way, when Donald Trump was asked about Ghislaine Maxwell during a press conference that was held while Trump was disgracing the office, while she was going through her criminal trial, and you all remember her criminal trial, what went down in the criminal trial, one of the things that we learned in the criminal trial about Jane Doe, one of the victims, who Jeffrey Epstein introduced Jane Doe to Trump at the age of 14. While that testimony was taking place at the criminal trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, testifying at Maxwell's trial in New York, the woman, at that time she was 14, identified now by Jane Doe, said she met Trump in the 1990s at his Mar-a-Lago resort. Trump was asked about it while he was in office, and what he said to Ghislaine is that he wished her well. Play the clip. This is what Donald Trump said about Ghislaine while he was disgracing the Oval Office. Play the clip.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and so a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is. I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know. Not aware of it.
Yeah, just
Is that a normal response?
the thing that's crazy about that statement is during that time, this was the biggest story in the country. All the Trump like crazies, all the Marjorie Taylor Greens, all the people in Congress that were MAGA, like they were talking about this. This isn't something that was like a story that was just brought up to him at the time. For him to pretend he doesn't know anything about this story is nonsense. Of course he does. This is a man that consumes the news. Like, he would wake up and watch 4 or 5 hours of the news every single day and then rage tweet. He knew this was going on. There's no chance that what he's saying right here is true. And think, I wonder why he would take the president, a person with pardon power, also a person with immense power of the FBI, of the CIA, of the military. I wonder why he would maybe go soft on Ghislaine. I wonder why he would say nice things. Maybe in hopes that she didn't drop his name. Maybe in hopes that she didn't use information to get herself a lighter sentence, and information that, hey, the sitting president was involved in these activities. Maybe, but he knew about it. I don't know why he lied about it, but he certainly is lying right there.
Guys, keep tapping the screen. Don't forget to tap the screen while we talk. And also, under if for access to this video, if so, I saw some in the comments said they missed most of it, want to see it. It's in our Discord. It's under, for whoever's doing the outline, new Epstein documents are it's right under the articles section. It's number 1. That's the link to this. Or if you're not in our Discord, Trump's awful past secrets revealed in doc unsealing. That's the name of this. This is Midas Touch reporting. So you can also look it up that way. It's a 13-minute video and you can go through it as well. And then what I wanted to say was, MAGA, it's fascinating. There's so many people in the comments who are upset by this. You guys, this is what you guys wanted. What Jay is saying is absolutely right. The clip we just watched of Trump being asked in the press conference about this, that is because MAGA, specifically you guys, were screaming and saying, why is this being covered up? Why is this being covered up? We want to know what's in the documents. We want to know what's in the documents. And now that it turns out Trump's all up in them, now all of a sudden you guys don't want to hear about this anymore. This is all happening because Ron DeSantis, if you missed what I said at the beginning when I was going through what was released were grand jury records from specifically in Florida that Ron DeSantis had control of, because one of his promises to MAGA when he was trying to take Trump's base out from under him in the Republican primary, one of his promises was to you all to release the grand jury records. And now you guys are upset they came out. This was what you guys wanted.
And the reason that you wanted this is, again, you're programmable, you're marks, you're lied to constantly. So what you were told is that when these came out, it would implicate Biden, it would implicate the Clintons, it would implicate Obama, it would implicate Oprah, it would implicate Bill Gates, it would implicate Tom Hanks. The people that you all thought and kept claiming were going to be on this list, turns out mostly weren't on the list. With the exception of Clinton, none of them were on this list. And by the way, none of us are defending Bill Clinton, right?
Yeah, that's gross. We hold people accountable. Bill Clinton's gross and needs to go. That's the difference. Oh no, that's all I'm saying.
Stop telling us you care about protecting children. Just stop it. Stop it right now. Because as soon as there was an opportunity now to hold people accountable and those people are on your side, you suddenly don't care. It's all a hoax now, right?
No, think about it. Now you're silencing children. That's what this is specifically about. It's for the victims who wanted these records released. Ron DeSantis did a press conference with the victims when he said that, or when they passed the bill in Florida that was going to allow these records to be released. And now you people that were saying, oh, we know Biden's on that plane. We know Biden's on that plane. Well, turns out he wasn't, but turns out RFK was. Turns out Trump was. Now, in fairness, in RFK's defense, he did say he was fossil hunting. And I'm not kidding. He did say that.
Also yesterday vaguely hinted at the idea that he sexually abused his babysitter, but doesn't want to talk about it yesterday. So just a couple of...
I saw a clip where they found a picture of him with what looks to be a charred dog. Did you hear about this?
He says it's not. He says it's a goat from a trip to Cambodia. Might have made that up, or somebody said
probably when he was fossil hunting.
Yeah, whoever did the report said they had some expert look at the carcass and they were like, oh, that's definitely a dog. He says it's a goat and they said it was in maybe Cambodia or another country, and he said he was somewhere else. So it's a bit of it I don't know that we'll ever find that out. But then he was asked basically in that same interview about accusations from his babysitter, or a babysitter that he paid, and he just said like, yeah, I've never claimed to be a choir boy. I've always said when I started that I have a, what is he, I forget what he uses. He uses rambunctious past, something like that. And then he won't answer that question. So yeah, it looks pretty tough.
So, anyways, I just want to remind you, MAGA, that this has happened because this is what you wanted. It just turns out Biden wasn't in the flight logs and it didn't go the way you thought it was going to go. But let's continue.
Horrific stuff right there. Here is a clip of Donald Trump bragging on the Howard Stern show how he would go backstage during the beauty pageants he sponsored and inspect the women
this is
naked,
gross.
he said. Here, play this clip.
What you could also say is the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now,
Well, I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting.
Right,
I want to make sure that
You're like a
everything
doctor.
is good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women, and so I sort of get away with things.
Horrific. Here's Donald Trump as well saying some horrific things about Lindsay Lohan when she was either 17 or
Somebody
the
said
oldest 8.
Let's be very clear. This was not grown women. This was the Miss Teen USA pageant. This was not
Children.
It's bad. It is also bad if he did that with grown women. But just to let you know, this is the Miss Teen USA pageant. And again, he acknowledges that people were shocked that they thought it was wrong. He doesn't say, oh, there was nothing wrong with it. He says, I sort of get away with it. And what did he say about those women? He said, oh, they're naked. He cut himself off. He kind of trailed off there, but there's naked women and they're beautiful. There's all these beautiful women and I get away with it. Where have we heard that before from him? Where have we heard that type of rhetoric regarding his actions towards women?
Access Hollywood.
Yeah, this is a pattern, folks, and this is long before he ran for office. This is what America used to be. This was the Howard Stern program. This is a nationally syndicated radio show at the time, I believe, the biggest in the country, probably the world. And he felt comfortable enough. He felt secure enough to go on that show and brag about walking in on women changing and offering them no privacy and no consent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to play the clip again. Listen at the very end where he's like, oh, I could get away with it. He knows. And it is true. It's very crazy to think back. Everyone remembers that time when Howard Stern was at the height of his popularity. And the point was to sort of come on and talk about different ways that you disrespect and objectify women. That was the point. Now keep in mind, MAGA, you guys are allegedly you're allegedly the Christians, right? So these are children he's talking about. You guys care about protecting children. That's what you guys are always yelling about.
Show how he would go backstage during the beauty pageants he sponsored and inspect the women naked, he said. Here, play this clip.
What you could also say is the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now,
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like a
everything is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women, and so I sort of get away with things.
Horrific. Here's Donald Trump
By the way,
as
those
well.
women, I just checked, the age range for Miss Teen USA was between 14 and 19 years old. At best, they were 19. At best, some of them were over the legal age, but there were minors. It's 14 to 19. That's the age range we're talking about here.
Stop justifying. Picture it's your child. Why are you making excuses? This is what I have a problem with. It's also mind-boggling to me that people, oh, no charges though, no charges. You guys are the people that present conspiratorial, unrelated circumstantial evidence against everyone and talk about it as if it was fact.
To be
This
clear,
is your guys' hobby.
Trump owned Miss USA, Miss Universe, and Miss Teen USA. So when you're saying that there's people like, oh, he didn't say Miss Teen USA, that's true. He's talking about all three of these pageants. And we know that because there are people that were in the Miss Teen USA pageant who have come out and said, like, yeah, this happened to us too. So he's talking about three different pageants that he owns. He's not specifying one. He's saying this is what I do at the pageants that I own. Which, by the way, it's crazy that pageants are crazy anyways, especially teen pageants. But it's crazy that Donald Trump owned a pageant with his track record.
I concur with that statement. But again, you guys are welcome to come up. Keep tapping the screen. If you would like to donate, we do rely on your tips and donations to keep our show going. This is Cash App and Venmo. Just write in the section, the comment section, question, comment, concern, dad joke. If we're debating someone, you can ask a question for them. We'll check them periodically, and as long as we won't get banned from the internet, we will read them aloud.
I'm seeing today's dialogue. Will you just say that your opposition in the comments, and Rich NGA, if your opposition, just put that in the comments.
He is. I think I saw him. I think Rich is. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I just think I saw him in the comments saying.
All right, we'll do this. There we go, Rich. Drop this one down. What's up, Rich?
Hey, how's it going?
Man, how are you?
Good, man. Hey, listen, can you guys find anything else to try to blame Donald Trump for? I mean, come on. He's trying to make sure that these girls look presentable, that they look nice. He's not going back there for any other reason. And this is all that you got to throw at him. Come on.
No, keep talking. This is working.
You guys
just keep talking.
You guys are a bunch of losers. You're a bunch of losers.
Keep talking. You're sounding great.
Donald Trump is going to win. There's nothing you can do about it.
Tell me more about why it's okay for him to go backstage without consent. Let's talk more about that. Tell me more about that.
Because he owns the place, he can go back there and make sure that everything's working the way he wants it to go.
Yeah. Do you have daughters, sir?
I do.
Okay. You think that if they're at work at the place where they own, that the owner should just be able to walk in the bathroom while they're changing on them? Do you think that's?
Well, he didn't walk in the bathroom.
No, he walked into the changing room. There were bathrooms there, but they were he says in that
So
clip.
why are you lying?
He said in that clip. He said in that clip that they were naked.
Okay, guess what?
What?
Guess what?
What?
If they were naked,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure most of them had clothes on.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
You have no idea
You're
either.
sick, dude. You're sick.
No,
no
wait,
idea
sir.
either.
He said
You
in
was-
the clip
were you
that they
there?
didn't.
He wasn't
Did
even
you
there.
listen
So
to the clip?
none of
He
y'all
said
was
in the
there.
clip they didn't have clothes on. That's
None of
the
y'all
point
was
of
there.
what they were talking about. He was just
Listen.
talking about it with Howard Stern in the clip. That's what they were discussing.
Howard Stern.
I didn't.
Howard Stern is a piece of shit.
So is Donald Trump. Donald Trump's
Donald
the one in
Trump-
this. Donald Trump is the one in this video saying the obscene things.
Donald Trump is a man of God, first of all.
Twilight Zone. Tap the screen, guys. Keep tapping the
You're
screen.
out of your
if you
goddamn
have a
mind.
question
Listen.
or comment for Rich.
Listen, did you check with your parole officer before you came up here today?
Hey, listen, does Joe Biden have a Bible? No, he does not.
That's one of the dumbest things I've heard. He goes to church every Sunday, you lunatic.
Yeah, but he does not have a Bible. Donald Trump has a Bible.
All right,
Saying
man,
he's
have a good day.
grifting. He's saying that Donald Trump is making money off people. Oh, did you drop him?
Yeah, I think he's a troll. I don't. That's stupid. That's not his actual argument. But just remember, that's your side, MAGA. Today's dialogue. Are you opposition? That's crazy. Hey, good morning.
Hey, what's up? No, I just wanted to ask. I'm not in opposition for either because I don't care for either of them, but I think they're both creepy. I just wanted to ask you what you think about Joe Biden's daughter and what she wrote down in her journal and what came out about that.
We're talking about Donald Trump today. Why don't you want to talk about that if you don't like either of them and you think they're both creepy?
Because what I just said, if you heard me clearly.
I heard you.
Okay. So
Yeah,
isn't that
we're not
creepy?
talking. Yeah, No. Well, first of all,
Joe Biden's daughter
Ashley
You
writing
don't
about
even
her
know what the
dad?
story is.
Ashley
clearly.
Biden says that that's not true, and nobody has ever authenticated that journal entry. So it's hard for us to
Oh
make a
man.
judgment on it. Yeah, I know. See, you're so full of shit. You are not. You're not. You
I
don't
asked
hate
you a
both of them.
question. I haven't
You don't
stated
hate
any
both of them.
opinion or
I
fact, and
understand.
I'm full
Wait,
of
not in the
shit.
middle of my sentence, my friend. Not in the middle of my sentence. I'm asking you if you want to talk about the stuff we're talking about today, not change the subject. I understand this is uncomfortable for all the grape apologists out there, but we're not
voting for
changing the
either
subject
one.
today. So would you like to talk about Donald Trump? Would you like to talk about Donald Trump
That is
walking
so
in to the
disingenuous of
locker?
you.
This is what we're talking about
So
today. You can go host
disingenuous.
your own live if you'd like to. But do you want to talk
Bro,
about Donald Trump walking into these dressing rooms
no, that's
unannounced
creepy.
where there are
That's
okay,
so
do you want to
creepy.
talk about Donald Trump being on the flight logs with Jeffrey Epstein 7 times?
You don't. You.
Do you
I
want to
don't.
talk about
I don't want to
the
talk
other
about any
event that Donald
creeps.
Trump had with
Are you,
young
how can you
teens
say look
and
over
all
here
of
but
the
not
men?
look
There were
here?
58 adult men and then nothing but teenage girls at an event that he sponsored. Do we want to talk about that?
Okay, Joe Biden's own daughter? Like, bro, you're so
She says that's not
disingenuous. You are
true.
so
She says that's
disingenuous.
not true. Why do you
This is
believe it?
ridiculous,
Wait, why do
bro.
you believe it?
You're-
She says it's not
Why do
true.
you
Why do
believe
you
the
believe
other
it?
stuff? It's like, oh,
Because
these
there's
people.
evidence. I
these
just showed
people
you
are tell-
pictures.
There's
We have
evidence too.
pictures.
She's still alive. Like,
What's
what?
the
It's his
evidence?
own daughter.
Wait, what? She says it's not true.
No, she didn't say that.
Yes, she did.
No, bro. That's just weird.
Okay,
You're
well,
being
go do your research,
disingenuous.
brother.
You're
Yeah,
being disingenuous. I don't like either.
I don't care. We're not coming up and doing like deflection all day today. It's like MAGA, you guys can address this or you cannot. But don't pretend you don't like both guys and then come up and only talk about the guy where there's no evidence that he did anything wrong. Yeah. Oh, Rich, you're not coming back. What are you doing? Get out of the box. Of course you're not coming back. All right, let's
I don't
continue.
mind talking to Rich if he can stay on subject.
Yeah, I don't believe I think that's a troll. I think that people are triggered by this, and I think the MAGA trolls want to do anything to derail this, and I think it's probably more important to show the information. Bite your back up there, please. Let me check messages real quick. Good there. Good there. All right.
Saying some horrific things about Lindsay Lohan when she was either 17 or the oldest 18 years old. Here's what Trump said. He said because he thought that she suffered from mental illness, that she would be better for him to sleep with because he thought she was mentally ill. Just listen to what he says in his own words. Play this clip.
This brilliant device keeps your home cool in summer, even during heat waves and power outages. It's smaller than a lunchbox, cools any room within 3 minutes, and uses 98.7% less energy than your AC. It was invented by a former NASA engineer from Houston, and it is now taking the US by storm. Steve designed this device after a citywide power outage left him, his wife, and elderly mother without AC in the searing summer heat.
What happened?
What do you think of Lindsay Lohan now? I think she's hot. There's something there, right? Yes. But you have to like freckles. I've seen a close up of her chest. Yes. And a lot of freckles. Are you into freckles? If the father's erect, like the way he is, right? You imagine the sex with this troubled? Yeah, you're probably right. She's probably deeply troubled and therefore great in bed. Back in the day. How come the deeply troubled women? Yes. Deeply, deeply troubled. Right. They're always the best in bed. If for some reason what I said is true, I mean, they're just unbelievable. I can tell from the. You don't want to be with them for the long term, but for the short term, there's none.
And now finally listen to this. This is what Donald Trump says about
I just
his
have to say
own
something.
daughter.
I just have to say something about this. Like, this is, again, MAGA, the hypocrisy of it all. You guys are talking about protecting women and children all the time. You don't care about women and children. This is the guy you want us to elect for president, saying that playing off the trauma, the horrific trauma suffered by women at the hands of men, and saying he specifically likes those people for sex.
By the
This
way,
is the president of the United States, the guy that you think is fit to be president.
Yeah, and Lindsay Lohan at the time of this interview was like 17 years old, possibly 18. They didn't have her exact birthday, or they didn't have the birth date, and I didn't have the exact date here, but she was between 17 and 18 years old. Now, nobody is posting a close-up of her chest, right? Like, she's not posting that. That means Donald Trump is viewing a zoomed-in picture of a 17 or 18-year-old girl's chest and then going on national radio and commenting about it with Howard Stern, right? And then also saying like, oh, her dad's a train wreck, so she's great in bed. This is a 17 or 18-year-old girl at the time.
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna rewind just a little to make sure we get it all. Okay.
Nemo says MAGA be like, Jesus was also arrested.
I've heard, yeah, they're saying that
that's
all
true.
It's so embarrassing.
That is true. I mean, they're just unbelievable. I can tell from the. I want to be with them for the long term, but for the short term, there's none.
And now finally, listen to this. This is what Donald Trump says about his own daughter, Ivanka, and how he thinks about her and he thinks about sex. Here, playing this clip.
She does have a very nice figure. I've said that if Ivanka were my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Ivanka, what's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
If I weren't happily married, and you know, her father.
My daughter, Ivanka.
Yeah.
She's 6 feet tall. She's got the best body.
By the way, your daughter, she's beautiful. Can I say this? A piece of ass. Yeah. She looks more voluptuous than ever.
She's actually always been very voluptuous.
It's unbelievable.
She's almost 6
You going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
Folks, this is who he
Can you pause
is.
that for a second?
So while the
If anybody ever, I don't care what age it is, if anybody ever talked to me about my daughter, like talked like that about my daughter in front of me, I'm swinging. And I'm not a fighter. Like, the rage that I would feel if a grown man said, hey, can I say this? Your daughter's a piece of ass. After Donald Trump's like, she has the best body. We're gonna we're gonna talk about, like, let's pretend that what Ashley Biden said about her dad was real. Let's pretend that when she was young, they sometimes were in the shower together. Let's just pretend that's real. That's still not on the level of creepiness of all of this stuff. Again, that journal entry doesn't even accuse Joe Biden of doing anything wrong. I've used this example before, but like, we've spent summers at the beaches, at beach houses. You walk back to the house, everybody showers in the outside shower. It's usually closed off. Like, families were regularly nude in front of each other. It happened. It's families that don't over sexualize nudity. It's not that uncommon. I would be uncomfortable with it, but I was raised in a house with like a lot of shame about nudity, so it's hard for me. Admittedly, like, it's weird for me if I'm in the shower and my daughter comes running in the bathroom. I still am uncomfortable with that, but not because of her and not because I'm doing anything wrong. Just like I was just raised to think that, like, the body, I needed to be shamed by that, or ashamed of that. So take whatever you want to believe about Joe Biden. Donald Trump is worse in every way.
Well, that's why it's really ironic, because that last gentleman that was up here, that was his. Well, it's his daughter. It's his daughter. Like, that is the point, sir. It's Trump's daughter. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're talking about. These are his own words, right? We are listening to Donald Trump speak about his daughter, right? That was the argument you want to make. If you want to support Trump, you can't make the it's his daughter argument. It collapses, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't. That's exactly the point. Trump is going around saying disgusting things about his daughter.
Jackie sent a message, said, this is so gross. These court documents should have been released when it all happened. Rich, white, male privilege on full display. Yeah. Yeah. Tough freeze frame there for Ben.
daughter, Ivanka, and how he thinks about her and he thinks about sex. Here, playing this clip.
She does have a very nice figure. I've said that if Ivanka were my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Ivanka, what's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
If I weren't happily married, and her father.
My
She
daughter
is.
Ivanka.
Yeah.
She's 6 feet tall. She's got the best body.
Wait, your daughter? She's beautiful. Can I say this? A piece of ass. Yeah. She looks more voluptuous than ever.
She's actually always been very voluptuous.
She's unbelievable.
She's almost 6
You going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years.
Folks, this is who he is. So while the release of these new documents that have been released as part of the Epstein files based on the law that was passed in Florida shed more light on Donald Trump's involvement, corporate media, all other media wants to ignore this. Well, you really want to ignore this? You'd rather spend time talking about President Biden telling the truth, but stuttering? That's where you want to spend your time?
Exactly.
But not speak about this abhorrent and despicable paper, this despicable conduct by Donald Trump, rather? Look, we should not have our children and our grandkids and our family growing up in a country that normalizes this sick and disgusting behavior by Donald Trump. And by the way, this isn't like opinion. I'm just showing you undisputed facts. I'm showing you his own words. I'm playing for you the video. I'm showing you the call logs. This is disgusting. He's a disgusting person. He is as disgusting as a human being as you get. And I could play you the clips, which I'm not going to, where he brags about sexually assaulting women. He says when you're a star, you get away with it. In a recent deposition, he said, well, fortunately or unfortunately, that's just the way it is if you're a famous person. This is disgusting stuff. We're not normalizing it here on the Midas Touch Network. And while other media outlets refuse to have the courage to report these facts, we're going to report on the facts that they should be reporting on. Let me know what you think, and please share this video.
And there you have it.
I'm dying at Nemo. Nemo said Fox News right now. Benghazi. Yeah. This is look, this should be shared. You want to have share something with your Trump supporting friends? Just have them watch this. Look how uncomfortable it makes them. And it makes them uncomfortable because they know that they're going to watch this and they're still going to vote for Trump. This isn't for those people. We're not doing this live for those people today, and we're not doing this live for the people who are never going to vote for Trump. Like those people are already set. But there are people all across this country who say, man, I'm a little worried about Joe Biden's age, and I'm worried about him being president, and maybe they're not politically that involved, and so they're like, I'll just go for the other guy. He's on stage, he seems a little better than me. Like that's why this stuff is important. That is a sick man, and not everybody is going to be convinced or care about Project 2025. People aren't going to care about judicial appointments, but all people are going to care about this. If you are a free-thinking person, if you are somebody who is not in the MAGA cult, this will be damning. And I think you just send it to everybody you know.
And I think, again, we are taking opposition. I would love to just someone to tell me the logic, right? How can the Republican Party, who purport themselves, you're the party backed by the evangelicals and the Southern Baptist Convention, why is any of this okay?
I got a question.
Yeah.
So everything being pushed about Ivanka right now that you guys are talking about, do you believe she's unintelligent?
What?
None of this has anything to do with Ivanka. What are you talking about?
No. So you're showing how Trump is obsessed with his daughter, I guess.
You have a
how
daughter?
it's being portrayed. Yeah, I actually have twin daughters. Yes.
Have you ever told one of your friends that your daughters had a great body?
No.
If your friends asked you what you have in common with your daughters, would you ever say sex?
No.
Nah, he did though. This is about him, not
But
Ivanka.
Yeah, right. But what I'm getting at is that's his portrayal of how he wants to be looked at, or what he thinks, or what's important to him to talk about, or whatever. She has a say of how she's portrayed too. Do you see her saying that her dad's a creep? Do you see her accusing her dad of doing anything to her? Do you see her saying that
Wait,
she
I
was a
don't
victim.
care. Wait, why would I,
over the
why
years.
should I care about
Well,
that?
that you should care, because you're
No, I
talking about
shouldn't.
someone that has you're talking about someone that has the ability to um, portray themselves as who they want to be.
I don't
and
care.
how
Yeah,
they're going
if
to be
she
treated.
look, I hope she wasn't
Makes no
abused. I'm not
sense,
even
sir.
making an accusation that she was abused. These comments alone, without any accusation of abuse, should be disqualifying. No sense. You would never say the things that he said. So why are you excusing it? Why are you talking about Ivanka right now?
Because it seems it's pretty weird that since 2016 to current 2024, that you guys go from one point to another point to another point. Anything you could say about this man, you guys
He
attack
said
him.
it. Brother, he said it. What do you want us to do? Ignore the creepy shit that he says to make you feel better about your dog shit vote?
No, that's the whole
What do you want
point.
us to do?
Like,
Why
do
shouldn't
you
we
gotta
cover
keep-
this? Why should we not cover that a presidential candidate talks about
Because why?
talks
Wait,
like
why?
this about
Wait,
his own
why?
daughter?
Wait, why?
Why
How
shouldn't
long-
we cover it?
How long ago was this said?
I don't care. This by
It
itself,
does
this
not
could have been
matter.
50 years
so
ago.
Now
Hey,
that
we're in
now
a
that
fight
the
for
indictment-
women's. Let me answer your question. We're in a fight for women's bodily autonomy. This is the same man that is bragging about taking women's rights to make decisions about their body away, and then is making comments about his daughter's body, about other women's bodies, other children's bodies that
So
are
I'm-
vile. So that's
unaware
what
of that
if
being
you
what
do
your
not
protection
believe
said.
if you do not believe that that is an issue, that's up to you. But I, as a woman, yes, I would like. I think it's important to know that the man that possibly could be sitting in the White House objectifies women in disgusting ways, and that
Miss, I am
explains to
listening.
me why he would
I
take
am listening to
women's
you.
bodily autonomy away.
Miss, I am listening to you. What does he say that is going to make it so of what you were saying right now? I believe I've heard he said he was leaving it up to the states to make the decision. It was no longer going to be a federal ruling. It's going to be up to the states. So
Brother,
how is
no
that?
matter how
is that
he
taken away?
Brother, no matter what the decision was by the Supreme Court, Trump didn't make it. So that it's silly to say that like it went back to the states. That's his way of getting out. Should it have gone back to the states? That's the real question. Should women have to pick and choose which state they live in just to have rights? What other group of people does that happen to? What other group of people do your rights change to your own bodily autonomy depending on which state you live in?
Right now, currently with
let's talk about your rights.
the sex changes and all that.
We'll
they're
talk
going
about
on
your
right now
rights.
currently, right?
Your right to do
Just
whatever
brought
you
up
want.
sex.
Your
Just brought
right to
up
do whatever
sex
you want with
changes.
your body. What state
it's
could,
illegal in
what,
certain states.
hold on, my friend. What state could you move to right now and not get a sex change?
There are, depending on your
Which
age,
one?
there's
No,
there's-
you.
there's
I'm
depending
talking
your-
about you.
No, not me. Children
Oh,
of
yeah.
certain ages are not allowed to make.
Well, clearly
make
we're
these
not talking
We're
decisions.
about
talking
children
about
here.
women losing control of their bodies, about no longer being people with uteruses no longer being able to make decisions about their bodies. You enjoy bodily autonomy. That's the issue. And you're suggesting that women, which relocation is a privilege. It takes money. And when you are pregnant, it's not always possible. You are suggesting that, hey, that's fine. If people in Alabama decide that women shouldn't be in control of their bodies, that's fine. No, it's not fine. You have a fundamental misunderstanding. You have bodily autonomy. And the minute you lost it, men in this country wouldn't say, oh, I'll just move to another state and then I'll have control of my body. It sounds ludicrous.
What about if well, we're not going to say what about. How about when there's a woman that would conceive multiple children if she did not have misfortune, and they look at that as an alternative to do what they want to do all the time and not have to be held accountable to becoming an actual
Oh,
parent.
slut shaming?
And-
What
and-
about
and-
you slut shaming women for
I'm not
enjoying
saying-
sex? Yes, you are.
No, I know personally women
Listen,
that go
it's
out and do
bodily
that.
autonomy,
That
right?
that
It's being
look
able
at
to
it
make
as a birth
decisions
control.
about what happens with your body. You're trying to tell me that pregnancy is a consequence of women enjoying sex? No, that's not true. I still have bodily autonomy. You can't force me to carry a pregnancy. You're suggesting
Right.
that it's
But
okay in certain states for women to be forced to carry a pregnancy. That's a
so
loss of bodily autonomy, however you look at it, that you enjoy.
so it's okay if you have 16 of them in a row. Doesn't matter because you're not going
Of
to
course.
stop.
Of course.
That's
Absolutely,
fine.
be
That's fine.
bodily
Of course.
autonomy.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay.
Of course.
So
Of
okay.
course. What are you talking about? Of course. Why do you think the government should ever be able to tell you what you can do with your body? Explain that to me.
How about the welfare recipients that have multiple kids with no fathers?
Explain to
And
me.
Wow.
Explain to
Wow.
explain to me. We're not going to shame poor people yet. You can get to that in a minute. Explain to me why you think the government should be involved in medical decisions.
There should be a clear-cut line. There
Why?
shouldn't have a
Why?
total say.
Why?
If you currently have 8 kids and you can't afford to take care of your kids, you should find out what birth control is. You shouldn't be looking at the
Why?
society to take
Why?
care of your kids.
Why?
Why? Because it's not everyone's job to take care of your kids because you can't be responsible.
Therefore, so because you don't want a little bit of tax money going to somebody, then therefore they lose control over their own body. That's what you're saying?
They shouldn't have to.
No,
they
I'm
shouldn't have
asking
to
if that's what
decide.
you're saying. Don't run from this. Don't run from
I'm
this.
not running from it.
Okay,
I'm not
so
willing to
if
pay
you
money
have
for
8
someone that can-
so if you have 8 children and you can't afford to care for those 8 children and you get pregnant again, the government should be allowed to force you to carry that pregnancy?
It doesn't even make sense.
No,
He's saying he
you
wants
should-
people to have
no,
less children,
you-
but doesn't want there to be. Listen, if you care about this issue, which you kind of switch subjects and are arguing something different now, but if you do care about that, if you're saying I don't want to pay for people's children, then you should know that your party, the Republican Party, it's not stopping with abortion. They're trying to block access to contraceptives. That is the point. So if you care about that and you want women to have access to contraceptives so you don't end up paying for children that parents can't pay for themselves, then you should vote for Joe Biden.
I'm actually independent, and then I don't believe what you're saying, but that's okay. I respectfully
It's
disagree.
absolutely true that the Republican Party is trying to block contraception. Look up the Life at Conception Act. That's what it's about. Establishing the idea, which life doesn't begin at conception. That's a religious idea, right? It begins at implantation. But like, think about it. That's an idea that if they can say that, right? If they can pass a bill, the Republicans that say life begins at conception, then they can make the point, right, logically, that contraception is what? Murder. That's what it's about. They are moving to do that. They're also doing the same thing with IVF.
Something's got to change.
Yeah, what needs to change respectfully is that you need to be quiet and listen. You're not educated on this. And you just want to believe, like you say you're independent, it appears you're independent of research and independent of facts. Because this is absolutely true, that across this country there are states that are trying to limit women's access to contraceptives, women's access to mifepristone. Like, this has been going on. There's people with a 6-week ban. In Idaho, women are having to flee the state, sometimes in like a helicopter, just so that they can save their life and get an abortion. Like, they and the baby not going to live. But in Idaho, the doctors are too afraid to perform that because of the legislation. They will not perform that service. So these women are forced to flee the state just to go save their own lives. And you're up here as a man who none of this affects, by the way. You and I, this doesn't affect us. Like, just listen more, dude. Like, you would not. Do you think the government should be able to force you to wear a condom?
Maybe they should.
No, I'm asking your opinion. Do you think the government should be able to force you to wear a condom? What about get a vasectomy?
Well, women have been saying that too. Why can't men have a vasectomy
I'm
and have
asking
it
you.
reversed if
Don't
they
no,
want to
no
have kids?
don't rephrase it. I'm asking you your opinion. This is not difficult. Do you think the government should be able to tell you that you have to wear a condom or get a vasectomy?
I personally don't think so, but what I'm also trying
Okay,
to
well,
tell
great.
you
Well,
is
then
that you're
support
saying
women.
that Donald
So then
Trump
you need to
is taking
support
away
women.
your right
So then
to
you
do
need to
this,
support
when I
women.
told you it's
So you
state,
need to support
not
women.
Donald Trump
So you need
or
to support
federal.
women. So you need to support women in the same way that you would support the legislation for yourself. You're being inconsistent.
What I just
Yeah,
said was the fact that you're
I heard
saying
you.
Donald Trump is the one taking this
I
away,
no, listen
which
to me.
it's
I
not,
heard you.
and
No, no,
they're
no.
You're
making it a
We're not talking
state
about that. We're not
decision.
talking about that right now. No, no, no,
no.
no. No, we're not going back to that right now. I'm saying why won't you support women having the same rights that you have?
They should have the same rights.
Okay, well then support candidates who believe that. I mean, how do you support Republican candidates who don't believe that?
I don't recall anyone coming out and saying that I actually support.
Well,
So
you're definitely going to vote for Trump. Nobody, don't tell us you're not, because you
The
are.
Republican Party is working to take away women's bodily autonomy, right? And it's a multi-pronged issue, but to say first of all that Donald Trump has no part in it, that is very much not true. But also, the presidential election, you're right. For me, it's not about one man, right? It's about the Republican Party and what they want to do to women's bodily autonomy. And that is not it's not one person. Just like Joe Biden is not voting for Joe Biden is not one person. He's not the only person running the government. I do agree with that statement, but Trump has had a definite effect and brags regularly on television about repealing Roe v. Wade. He says at his Trump rallies, if you watch them, no one could do it. They tried for years and years and years. No one could repeal Roe, but I pointed the justices who appealed Roe. He is proud of it. He's very proud of it. And 60+% of abortions being performed in this country, and this is important, they actually have to do with they're not procedures, they're pills, right? And that's the other thing Trump's trying to do. So let's say hypothetically they give up on the federal ban because they're not going to get the votes in the Senate they need, right? They're not going to get 60 votes in the Senate and they give up on that. That's why they're looking at the Comstock Act. They want to make it illegal to send abortion medication through the mail. That's what it's about. There are many ways, there are many plans that they have in order to increase the birth rate and stop women from having access to health care. I mean, this is happening. I think you would just have the privilege of not being aware of it, but it is happening, and it's an assault on women's bodily autonomy, and it's being launched by the Republican Party.
Sorry, I had to mute you, brother, because of your background noise. So if you're talking right now, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry about that. I'm not an expert on everything we're talking about, for one, but I will look more into it and try to be more informed. But the whole thing, I also would like to say, is that it's stupid that they make it things like this an issue to where everyone has to be at each other's throats. You know what I mean?
It shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be that hard to condemn Donald Trump for what he's saying right now. If this was anybody else, you would condemn it. The only reason people aren't universally condemning Donald Trump right now is because politically they want him to win. You've admitted yourself, like you would never say this. Your friends would never. If you and I were talking, if you and I were talking, hold on, yeah. If you and I were talking about your daughter like this, you would beat my ass. So why would you vote? So then why vote for somebody who talks about their own daughter like that?
We're not left with much of a choice.
No, we are left with a choice. One guy doesn't do that, the other guy does.
And it's all the shadiness that's going on. Like the whole.
No. We don't get don't move on. I need you to tell me why you would ever vote for somebody who talks about their own daughter in that way. Why? How is that not disqualifying?
It should very well be.
Then you shouldn't vote for him. Stand by that.
but
Stand
I
on
also
principle.
enjoyed a better economy back in 16 to 20. That was, well, 19. 20
Right.
was crap.
So the economy is
But
more important than the person who's running it being a creep, adjudicated sex offender, and somebody who does not care about women. Like, that's more important to you. Even though I don't think you could explain why the
no,
economy
that's,
was better.
no,
You just
that's
remember things were better back then, so you want to ignore all this stuff.
no, it's not very easy to ignore all of it, and it's like you
It should
can't
be
tell what's
impossible.
truth, what's not truth, what's being made up, what's actual took place.
Brother, we've
Because
only shown his own words today. These aren't made up instances. How many more examples do we have to show you of Donald Trump being an absolute creep to not just women, but like children, teenagers? How many more clips would you need to see before you say, no matter what, I'm not voting for this guy? This wasn't enough? What you've seen so far isn't enough to say I'm not voting for him? Tell that to your daughters. Go show your daughters this video and then say, I'm voting for this guy.
Yeah, I hear you definitely. That's the part that keeps you torn as a parent, because it's troubling to hear that.
Yeah, that should be enough. Look, I can handle somebody's political beliefs being different than me. What I can't handle is like my daughter growing up in a world where this type of behavior is not only ignored, but also protected. That's the real story here. Is Donald Trump used his fame and then his nomination in the GOP as a way to protect himself from criticism, from being an unbelievable creep. And we haven't even gotten to the worst stuff yet, just so you know. Like, we're not even there yet.
All right, well, thank you for having me up. I'm gonna continue listening and
brother.
see what else you guys have to put up. But
I
thank you for
followed
being.
you.
All right, thank you.
See you, brother.
Bye.
Go.
Just wanted to say too, like I one of the things we do here a lot is like, but I feel like, the economy, or I was doing better under Trump, right? Like, you can feel that way, like, and it may have been true. Like, there was a tax cut. It depends on what we're talking about, but what we know is like Republicans, if you're allegedly the party of fiscal conservatism. It's supposed to be about fiscal responsibility, but Trump is not fiscally responsible. I mean, I'm just saying that because we're talking about children, and I do say this all the time. I'm just gonna say it one more time. The truest thing Nikki Haley has ever said is our children will never forgive us for what Donald Trump did to the national debt. Like, he's done a lot of things he says a lot of gross things about children, teenagers, whatever, women, but in addition, he has crippled the people of the future, like Gen Z. You want to know why they're so hopeless and angry? They don't have a future because of what Donald Trump's done. If you're making the argument, oh, I care about the economy, then you need to look into what Donald Trump has done to our economy.
Yeah, and you can look at projections of what his proposed legislation
The
would do to our
tariffs.
economy.
Look, there's
the tariffs and the tax
projections
cuts.
from economists about what the 10%, like, across the board tariff will do to our economy. It's going to be much worse than what he's already done. But then I was going to ask you, so just to clarify what we're doing next, we're going to go over the Katie Johnson lawsuit.
Yeah. I see Angel in the box. Angel, if you're opposition, will you just let Jen know? It is interesting to see like the visceral reaction from the MAGA folks, just like desperate to deflect from this, desperate to deflect to this. How come none of you guys are willing to discuss it? How come every single person that comes up here, rather than saying like defending the position or discussing the position, every single person is like, but Biden, but something else, but something else. Like, why are you, ask yourselves, why is this person that you've never met, this person that you know nothing about personally and who doesn't give a shit about you, why are you so keen to defend him? Always. Just it doesn't matter what happens, you either deflect or you defend. Today you guys aren't even willing to defend. It's only deflect. So
one of the comments said Blumpkin's gonna blump. I'm sorry. I just who said that? I need to look it up. The book slinger. That was funny. You made a funny. Everyone
Uh,
follow the book slinger for making a funny.
Abigail says, wait. So if Ivanka is allowed to portray herself how she wants, then MAGA has to believe Ashley Biden, yes? What fucking hypocrites. Agreed with that. Cindy sent a donation, said, mandatory vasectomy for every 15-year-old male. Like, honestly, that's the thing. Like, nobody on our side wants forced vasectomies. But if you are going to force women to carry a pregnancy through, and you're going to say, like, oh, we're now in control, then yeah. Why wouldn't you give forced vasectomies? Why not?
Well, and that's the issue, though. Like, again, now you have to follow the lines of logic. Republicans have always been small federal government, small, get the government out of our lives, get the government out of our lives. Why, if you're a Republican, it's logically inconsistent to in any way want the government in a doctor's office. Like, we should never set the precedent that anyone, right, left, I don't care, the federal government or state governments can make laws about our bodies in any way, or medications or things of that nature. That is a slippery, scary slope.
I like the person, somebody said, the reason we're voting for Trump is because we're picking a president, not a babysitter. There's not I would never hire anybody to do any job that I knew said the things Trump said and did the things that Trump did. That should be disqualifying for all jobs. What are you saying to these victims when you say, like, hey, we're still going to vote for him because he's not the babysitter? What are you saying to them? Like, that you can just get away with this shit and then enter the highest office in the land and be defended by a bunch of white men who didn't really care anyways, just like a bunch of mediocre ass white guys who are terrified that their past might be coming back up. Yeah. You pulling back up? Are we reading it, or are you pulling something back up? I can't remember. You're muted.
Sorry, we just have the lawsuit. I mean, no one could see it if we put it up on a screen.
I just couldn't remember if the video was done. Sorry. All right, yeah, let's go to the lawsuit.
Okay, so hold on. I was just gonna look up. Could you just remind everyone to tap the screen stuff really quick? I'm going
Hey guys, tap the screen. We're at 291,000 likes. We appreciate that. Share it with your favorite or least favorite Republicans. The Venmo and Cash App are above Felice's head. If you'd like to make a comment, send a donation. We do rely on those donations to keep things going. Lou says, what does a house wear to a party?
What?
Address.
Address.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a good one. Anyway, so we like this it's sort of being brought back up. And again, I think that it is important to note that MAGA keeps saying this isn't new news. I do see that a lot in the comments. You're right, it's not. Right? The new news is you want us to reelect someone. This is not new news.
We're just going to keep showing it to you to make you uncomfortable. You guys have all pretended this didn't exist. It's not that you don't care. It's that you've been able to ignore this. You've been able to just like talk about other things, and we're not going to do that anymore. We're gonna make you answer questions about this. We're gonna remind you about this, and that's why I liked the Midas Touch video. Is what they did is they just laid out. Here's Donald Trump saying all of these things. It wasn't a narrative that they were spinning. It was just clip after clip after clip of Donald Trump being a dirtbag. Oh yeah, here's a guest here.
Oh, Chuck it, Trebek. I remember your name. Yeah, I love your name.
Welcome.
Well, let's see what comes out of it. I mean, I have no problem jumping off the Trump bandwagon. There's supposed to be some calls out there that they released. They don't know what the calls were for. I guess Trump made some calls to Epstein, but they don't know what the calls were for.
Yeah.
Maybe they have something. If it comes out and he's on the phone call saying, "Hey, line me up a 13-year-old," then yeah, I would never vote for him. But
what about all that other stuff we showed? What about him? What about him walking in on underage girls? What about him sponsoring a party where all the guests were either underage girls or men?
I didn't see that report. If that's what they're reporting. If again, I haven't researched this at all. I just came on your live just recently, so I don't know what you guys
Yeah, it
talked
was
about
called.
earlier.
What was the event called again? Like the outfit, not outfit of the year, whatever it was. Like it was some style thing. And there is everybody that was invited were teenage girls and then men. And then at after they did like the fashion show, they were all dancing together. And you have these grown men dancing with young girls, putting their arms around them, talking about how beautiful they are. Donald Trump sponsored that event.
And
He
what
also
year?
walked.
What year did that happen?
That I think that was in the. It's when he was 45. They said.
Oh
So
my
what is
God!
Yeah,
So that was like what 30, 40 years ago.
roughly. Yeah. What about the stuff he said about his daughter?
I mean, how's that only coming up now?
It didn't. We're just reminding you. It's been out for a long time.
Yeah, but when did it first come out, though? When did it first come out after that?
In the
happened?
90s.
It came out what 10 years later, 20 years later?
But even if it was coming out today, why does that matter?
I mean, listen.
Wait, but can you answer that question? Even if it just came out today, why would that make a difference?
You got to be careful how you answer this because there's got to be investigations done. See, as former law enforcement, I don't just jump on the bandwagon. I want to see actual investigations done by legitimate people, not by biased people. I want to see things done because
but these things don't require investigation. Do you need to know anything more about Donald Trump's thoughts on his daughters than from his own mouth? Do we need to investigate that? No. Do we need to, when Donald Trump walked in on underage girls changing, do we need any more investigation on that for you to say like that's disqualifying? He admitted it. They said it. Nobody even disputes it. He's bragging about it. It wasn't even a deposition. He's on national radio bragging about it.
Did he intentionally walk in on them, or
yeah, that's what he said. He said, "I walk in there because it's my job. I own the pageant, so I need to inspect them."
Again, I don't know about that report. I haven't seen it. I haven't
We just played
researched it.
Maybe you didn't see it when we were here. We just played it, but yeah.
Okay, I just like I said, I just came on.
Yeah, it's him. Well, I mean, you were here earlier in the box for quite a while, so a lot of this stuff we played while you were here.
I wasn't. I'm working during the day too.
Sure.
I got a job.
Okay. But even then, like, if anybody, so he's got that clip with Howard Stern. Howard Stern said, Donald Trump says, "Oh, my daughter's beautiful. She has a great body." And then Howard Stern's like, "Yeah, I got to tell you, she's a real piece of ass." And he's like, "Yeah,
Yeah, I saw that clip. Yeah.
yeah, that's not disqualifying."
Listen, the guy. I said this before to a million people. The guy is an arrogant frat boy. He's an asshole. Sorry to curse, but I mean, it's not like people don't know that. Trump supporters know he is.
I know, and they still vote for him. That's why we're confused.
Again, people still voted for Bill Clinton, and he's a well-known rapist.
Most of the stuff we knew about Bill Clinton did come out after, but that's true.
People knew about him before that. They knew
Some
before
people, it wasn't the same as now, and none of the Bill Clinton stuff was like this obvious either.
Oh, I think Bill Clinton's worse.
Either way, we're talking about you. Like, I don't understand how you guys can look at, honestly, how can you look at Joe Biden? How can you look at Joe Biden's record? How can you look at the last 3 years? How can you look at his policies and say he's so bad that we have to put this piece of shit back in office?
I'm going to say this to you again, and I tried to say it before, but you guys didn't let me say it. And just give me a second. As a former law enforcement, I don't I don't like politics. I dealt with politics and law enforcement. I don't like it. I don't like what they did with opening up a 12-month window during an election year, specifically for him.
That's not what happened.
It did happen. See,
It's not.
Okay, well, we'll agree to disagree.
I mean, other people were charged during that time, right?
It doesn't matter. It was specifically done for Trump. Period.
Not Harvey Weinstein, not Bill Cosby.
It was done for
Got
Trump.
it. Sure.
So we will agree to disagree on that. So being from Pennsylvania, you guys know the story. Here's another example of investigations done unfairly just to hurt people is the Penn State case. With Sandusky. Horrible investigation done. They never did a real investigation. They got a biased person. It was driven by the mainstream media, and they ruined a man's life who dedicated his life to helping kids get off the street. And Him and his wife.
Excuse
did a
me.
wonderful
Wait,
job.
hold on. Are you? You're not talking about Sandusky, right? You're talking about Joe Paterno.
Right, Joe Paterno. Right, you're right.
Joe
The Sandusky
Paterno.
case- the
This
Sandusky
information
case-
was given to Joe Paterno, and he did nothing. He should
No,
absolutely have been smeared.
That's not true. He did.
It is
report-
true.
No, if you read the Free report, the first incident he was aware of, and Free even said there was no interference in the first incident. The McQuarrie incident, he did report. He went to his administrators under the policy of the university at the time. His job was to report it to the administrators, and the administrators would take it from there. He did exactly what he was required to do.
If you were him, would you have went to the police?
I'm glad you asked that. My company at the time of that incident, had the same policy. If I recognized something in the office, I would have to go to my administrators, report it, and say, look, this employee came to me and said this happened. I'm reporting it to you.
Would you go to the police?
No longer do anything. My administrators are the one. The administrators of Penn State or should
Would
be.
you go to the police?
No, that's what the administrator's job is.
So this is the problem that we have. This is the problem that I have with Joe Paterno. If somebody comes to me and talks about somebody being sexually abused, you know who I go to? Law enforcement, not the fucking administrators who are going to cover my ass. No, I go to law enforcement.
So let me
That's
ask
why
you-
Joe Paterno. That's why Joe Paterno lost his job, and rightfully so. If somebody
let me
comes
ask
to
you
you
a
talking about, if somebody comes to you claiming abuse, that should not go to somebody in HR. It should go to the police.
Okay, so let me ask you a question then, if you feel that way. So somebody who's a third party was told something is more at fault than a janitor who years before actually saw it and didn't
I
say
didn't know. I didn't say more at fault,
Wait,
but
wait,
Joe
wait.
Paterno.
There's a
But Joe
janitor
Paterno.
who walked
Joe Paterno
in-
was just a legendary. He was a legend.
Hold on.
So-
There's a janitor who walked in years before and watched Sandusky having relations with a child and did nothing. And
I
he got
understand
off-
that.
and he
Nobody is
got off
claiming. Wait,
scot-free.
but you're using this. Hold on. You're using that guy, and this is why I'm a little frustrated with you being a police officer. Like the law is
I'm
the
not
law.
anymore. I'm not
The
anymore.
well, okay, but the law is the law. So pointing out that Joe Paterno did not do the right thing and
No, he
rightfully
did the
lost
right
it.
thing.
Hold on. No, he didn't. He didn't go to the police. He
He's
should have went to the
required
police.
to follow
I
the
didn't say what
university's
he's required. I didn't say what the rules told him to do. I'm talking about what he should have done as a good person. You should go to the police. And you're bringing up, and this is the problem I have with your takes in general, is that every time we talk about somebody's specific actions, all you want to do is deflect to other people that were worse. Like, we're not going to agree that there's other people worse. You know who's worse than Joe Paterno and the janitor? Sandusky. Like, there's a lot of bad people involved here, and they all should pay consequences. All that happened to Joe Paterno is he lost his job. He kept money. He was able to resign. I don't feel bad for him. I'm sorry. I don't
I'm
feel
going by
bad
what the
that he lost his
prosecutor-
job.
I'm going by what the prosecutor said in the Sandusky case. The one who actually investigated and prosecuted. He said Paterno did nothing wrong.
I don't care.
He did nothing wrong.
I don't care.
That came from the prosecutor.
I don't care.
This
If
is
you
from the
ca- if-
people who want to protect kids.
We're
Like,
talking
we
about
all
the
know
law.
What we're talking about.
Again, you got to understand what happened.
Wait, no. Wait, hold on.
McCreary's-
Hold on.
McCreary's
No,
statement
hold on. We're talking about the law. So if he was not a mandated reporter, then yes, legally he is in the clear, which is what they said. I'm not talking about the legality. I don't know if he was a mandated reporter. I don't know the laws in Pennsylvania. I have no idea. But as a human being, when people are being abused criminally, you should go to the police. You should not let your school handle it behind the scenes.
Again, if you know anything about the case, remember, McCreary was not clear on what he saw. Remember that. He had two different stories. He told two different stories at the time.
okay.
The one story said he saw, he wasn't sure, he really didn't see anything. Then he turned around and said, oh yeah, well, I did see this. So he gave two different versions. So Paterno, being in his 70s, of course, was like, okay, I'm not sure what this guy's trying to tell
Okay,
me.
you're apologizing for Joe Paterno.
No. What I'm saying is
We
what
got
he
it.
did.
We got
What-
it.
what
We
Joe-
don't
what-
want to talk about Joe Paterno.
What Joe
are we
did is he
doing?
said to McCreary, okay, come with me. We'll go meet with the administrators, report to them what you
We
saw.
don't. How many times do we have to say we don't care about the story before you're
Why
going
are
to
you
stop
telling
telling the
us this?
story?
No,
What?
I'm saying
You're on the
with
wrong
regards to-
show. We don't
We
know what you're
don't
doing.
care.
Okay, back to what we were talking about. what I'm saying is, I want to see a good investigation done by people who are not biased.
What
You
are we going to
guys are
do?
biased.
Then you're going to
Let's
get
face it,
wait,
you're
wait, but
biased.
then you're going to be upset that
This
they
is
reopened. Like
ridiculous.
most of these things are past the statute of limitations. We already know what your argument's going to be. Oh, they're doing it just to get Trump. You already got played.
No,
You've
no.
already ignored the fact
When it comes
that
to
he
children, it needs to be
raped a
investigated.
woman. You already don't care that he raped a woman because you think it was an unfair rule that they changed. We can't go back and investigate these things. There's statutes of limitation, and you guys act like, oh well, if the statute of limitations is over, I guess we're just not going to hold him accountable. You personally can decide that you're not going to vote for people who abuse women, but you won't do it.
That's not true. When it
Well,
comes
then, are you going to vote for Trump?
when it comes to
Are
children,
you going to vote for Trump?
Yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump.
Okay, well, he abuses women,
my
so
reason-
obviously
He
you
had
don't
a
have that
trial.
rule, do
He was
you?
found
Again, my
civilly
reason-
liable.
Obviously-
He was found
yeah.
civil. There was an investigation. He had a trial, a jury of his peers who found him liable for SA. The legal process worked. A jury of his peers
No, it
found him
didn't.
liable. Yeah,
No, it
no,
didn't.
and this is the point, Shuckett. This is why you're disingenuous.
mind, it
You
worked.
are a SA apologist.
In your
That's what
small
you're.
mind, it
Stop
worked.
talking. Every time someone's held accountable, Trump, we did exactly what you said. There was an investigation. The evidence was presented to a jury of Trump's peers, and they found him civilly liable. And now you're discrediting those people. You don't care if there's an investigation. You don't care if there's a trial. Anybody that holds Donald Trump accountable, you will start yelling that they are corrupt. We don't need to hear anymore. Joe Paterno should have taken out a billboard and posted it on there if he cared about children. As a Division I athlete that understands how much abuse is going on in athletics that is not being called out, just like Jim Jordan should have protected those wrestlers. Now, technically, did Jim Jordan do something illegal? No, he did not. Should he have done more? Should he not be hanging those people out to dry? Those poor men that he was supposed to protect, 18-year-old kids that he was supposed to protect, that then asked him, please help us, we're going to sue this university. Please help us, Jim, you know what happened? And he said, I don't know what you're talking about, and hung those poor wrestlers out to dry. Yeah, none of this is okay. You're up here to apologize for SAers in the Republican Party, and Trump was held accountable. Exactly what you want to happen happened, and now you're invalidating it.
Again, in your small mind, the system worked with the E. Jean Carroll case.
Brother, she's a million times smarter than you. Can you stop? She's one of the
Okay.
smartest human beings I've ever talked to.
Okay.
Stop.
Of course she is.
Apologize.
Of course she is.
Apologize.
The E. Jean Carroll case was an
Apologize.
absolute
No,
joke.
apologize.
I'm not going to. She said
All right.
something
Have a
rude
good
to
day.
me.
No, there's no point. I mean, he is just an apologist. That's all. You know what I'm saying? If exactly what happened, if exactly what he just said, if there was an investigation done and Trump was implicated in it and then he was tried, we've seen what happens when Trump is held, or when people try to hold Trump accountable. That's what's so disgusting. That's why average people like all of us here have to protect people who are strong and who are like Alvin Bragg, like Fonnie Willis, who are holding Trump accountable, because these people are in danger from trying to do their job. These people don't want investigations. They don't want trials. They don't want any of it.
Yeah, I don't know how you look at the E. Jean case and and look at it any other way than no matter what, you guys were going to believe it wasn't true. There was nothing. There was absolutely nothing she could have done to get you guys to believe her, because this is what you do. And again, just going back and watching those Clarence Thomas hearings and the Kavanaugh hearings and just seeing it's the exact same thing every time. By the way, the Clarence Thomas one is worse than I thought. He doesn't even really say he didn't do it. He instead says, well, if you would have told me that these things were sexual harassment, I would have stopped. Right? Like, that's not accountability. There's no accountability for these guys. And the reason there's no accountability isn't because of a broken system or because of the Democrats. It has everything to do with Republicans, specifically Republican men, choosing not to hold Donald Trump accountable. You should have held him accountable from day one. He never should have been your nominee. But you didn't do it, and you're still not going to do it. And I think it's just because he's a prick, and you guys like that. You like that he's an unapologetic prick, because like that last guy who can't just like insult somebody and then apologize. They cannot find a way to apologize or admit that they're wrong. And that's what we're seeing down here with all these men. They were wrong about Trump. They're never going to admit it because their egos are so fucking fragile that if they admit that, they'll just collapse.
Guys, tap the screen. Tap, tap, tap. Do we have any messages? And invite your favorite or least favorite Republicans. We are taking opposition. How many? We're almost to 400K. We could do it. And if you would like to send us a message, we do rely on your donations and tips to keep our show going. This is Cash App and Venmo. Whatever you write in the comment section, as long as we can read it online and not be in trouble, we will read it aloud.
From our Arizona friend Deani, to all MAGA, to stop the narrative. If something happens to Biden, we can elect our VP. First female president that was a prosecutor to defeat felon Trump, to deal the final blow to help women's rights. Poetic justice. Who's Trump's VP? You guys don't even have one. Colt. That's true. His VP slot is looking rough. I posted a video about that today. By the way, shout out Luke Beasley for asking tough questions to Trump VP candidates and then just watching them squirm. Manny says, MAGA paid Russia extra today to program the maggots. Yeah, Russia got a little boost today.
Is it time for me to talk about Steve Bannon?
Let's do Steve Bannon.
Yeah. I think it's time for me to talk about Steve Bannon going to jail.
We do have a very full box, actually. I didn't realize that.
That's
all right.
what she said.
I see. So here's who's in the Matthew Durden, Clint's here, Lisa,
Clint!
user 3788, and Bussy Wussy. If you're not opposition,
like
please just
Clint.
hop out of the box, and then I can bring up the next opposition. Let's see. Jen's sending me clues to see if she thinks they're
Clint needs to come up and talk about personal responsibility for a bit.
Clint wants to legislate personal responsibility. All right. Just so you guys know, if I bring you up, you're not op, Jen's gonna boot you immediately because I don't have the courage. Who's up first? This is Bussy Wussy. Doesn't seem to want to connect. Sorry, Bussy Wussy. All right, Clint, tell us about personal responsibility.
Good afternoon.
Why did you add two? Are you a two-stepper? You a dancer, Clint?
Oh, I unfortunately, it looks like a lot of the haters in the comments got me bananaed, so I had to set up a second account.
Sorry about that, bud.
Oh,
you know how it goes.
Banned?
Yeah,
That's the way it goes, man. When you're opposition.
Right, I followed you.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
So what's up?
Hey, I wanted to get your take on an issue that I think is important. I noticed that on several news stories said that Senate Democrats have proposed that women should be included in the draft, and I wanted to get your take on this issue.
I'm opposed to the draft.
Very good. Me too. Felice?
Well, I mean, yeah, I am opposed to drafts as well. But no, like women, if women want to be in combat, yeah, I think they should be allowed to be, sure. Because like
Sure.
if I was in the army, that's what I would want to do. Like I don't want to have to do it.
I hear that.
It feels like, I mean, you recognize that this is just a gimmick, right? That this is not serious legislation.
Well, I mean, look, the war machine needs more people to blow stuff up. I mean,
But you understand this is a gimmick, right? Like, of course, we're not reinstituting the draft.
If it's a gimmick, I would say it's a really, really bad one by the Democrats. That's just poor in every way. I love the fact that the three of us can agree that the draft is absolute utter nonsense.
I'm just looking up because I don't know anything about what we're talking about or why it's a gimmick and stuff. So I was just searching. They did this. This is interesting. This is not the first time they've done this. They did this in July 19th, 2021. Senate Democrats are proposing a sweeping rewrite of the military draft laws aimed at requiring women to register for the Selective Service System. So when you say it's a gimmick, Jay, what do you mean by that?
Well, so it's just it's their way of being able to say like, hey, this like it discriminates based on gender. But obviously, there's a million ways to dodge the draft. Donald Trump can tell you about bone spurs. Mitt Romney can tell you about church service. There's a million ways to not be drafted. So if you did this, then you're going to also have to add new reasons why people would not qualify for the draft. I don't care. When I saw it, it's someone that's like she's former Air Force, I think, that
Yeah,
introduced
this
it, or Army.
well
Yeah,
here's
I thought it was weird. I thought it was such a gimmicky thing.
Well, this is well, okay. So this is from the 2021, but I think it will hold pretty relevant. So whether to include women in the draft became the subject of a marquee defense battle on Capitol Hill back in 2016. So it looks like the first time this was started was 2016. This article I'm reading from now is 2021. So it looks like this is continually coming up. The Senate voted to make the change as part of its annual defense policy bill with the backing of the then Senate Armed Services Chair John McCain. Raise the roof for John McCain. So John McCain was backing this despite opposition mostly raised by conservative Republicans. Can't have childbearing age women in the draft because we all know where our place is, ladies. Making women eligible for the draft won bipartisan support from the Armed Services Committee at the time. Half the panel's GOP members sided with Democrats against a conservative effort to strip the language, including who still serve in the Senate. Deb Fisher of Nebraska, Joni Ernst supported it. Tom Tillis, Dan Sullivan of Alaska, Lindsey Graham of South Carolina apparently supported this. So that's interesting.
Well, yeah, anyone who's pro-war is going to support it, and we need more people. Like I said, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean,
And then they
think about
later
it.
stripped the language from the bill. Yeah, okay.
So for me, I mean, I brought it up because obviously it's the female issue makes it a little more interesting to talk about. But really, the draft in general is what I'm talking about. I think that having no draft and making it 100% volunteer is a check against going and doing silly things all across the world, right? Like, wouldn't it be nice if if it was a volunteer type system only? I mean, I think that
it
would
has
make a
been
lot more
since
sense.
since Vietnam, right? It has been volunteer ever since Vietnam. It didn't really stop us from doing a bunch of crazy shit. Didn't stop us from Desert Storm. Didn't stop us from Afghanistan. Didn't stop us from Iraq. Didn't stop drone strikes. Like, and I mean this respectfully, but like when you go into the military, your literal job is to take orders. That's your job.
Yeah.
And without question. So I don't think there's a lot of room in the military for like free thinkers who want to stand up against their leadership. That's what I'd like to see more of. That's one of the things I admired about General Milley, who is at his age is like, hey, I still need to understand more. I need to understand. We have young people coming up. They care about different issues than maybe I did. I need to understand that so I can be an effective leader. But and then of course you have Republicans are like, no, we can't teach anybody anything new. So I don't think that the military is like a free thinking place generally.
I think you're right for sure. Yeah, I thought it was an interesting issue. I thought the the fact that they kind of float this. I mean, it's literally kind of a trial balloon thing. Let's see what happens. Let's see who opposes this idea of drafting females. I mean, I just think it's just deplorable, really.
I
Now, can I ask you a
just think the
question?
draft is
Oh, sorry.
deplorable. Yeah, the draft is deplorable. Period. I think is the point, right?
Yeah.
Now, Clint, now that you're here, could I ask you a question?
Well, one second. Well, having said that, if we are going to have the draft, meaning let's not say the draft, let's say that males have to register. Yeah, they have to register. Man, that's with where we are in conversations about sex and gender and everything else, and we've had lots of conversations about it. Man, it makes you start to think we either need to get rid of this thing or we do need to make it equal for everyone. Because I mean, it's kind of
yeah, you can just change the word to people and then it's all encompassing.
Yeah, I think we should. I think it should be changed to people. Yeah.
Any citizen over the age of 18 is entered in the draft or whatever it is. So you can just do that and then it doesn't have to be confusing.
Right. Well, there you go. And then we're back to this.
Tap the screen, guys.
We're back to this same issue of, again, is that really what we want to do? Do we really want, all people to have to do it? I'm not saying I know either way. I just think it's an interesting kind of conundrum.
All I would say now is like this is modern warfare. Like there hardly any of war is spent on the front lines. Like most of it isn't. And so if you are drafting people, like my dad was drafted into Vietnam, but he was a typist. Like he wasn't ever going to see combat. He was never, and he didn't wind up going over anyways. But he was never. That was never going to happen for him.
Yeah, the draft
So
doesn't mean you're in combat. Absolutely.
yeah, so you can be drafted and take a role that is not frontline combat. You still have to put the best people in the right places. But yeah, I think it's kind of just a silly issue, to be honest.
I agree. I
Yeah.
do agree. It should be people. We should all, everyone of age or whatever should be entered into the draft, and then yeah, you just put the right people in the right places, similar to
Well,
like a corporation.
Yeah, and I think there's enough neocons and warmongers on the right that would vote for it for sure. So I mean, it may be something that if you get enough people that are on the far left that want equality for everybody, and enough people on the right. I mean, it's a kind of a weird bedfellow, right? but that's what politics does. So that could end up being where, hey, everybody has to sign up, when they turn 18.
Sure.
Anyway,
Yeah,
you had a
can I ask
question.
my question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know how long you've been here. Have you been watching for a while, or did you just show up?
Just a little bit. I caught just a little bit of the last dude.
Okay, so you didn't see the video. We can play the video for you another time, or we can send it to you. To recap, we played a bunch of videos of Donald Trump bragging.
I can pull it up if you tell
Yeah.
me what part, and like if you want me to just play the sound.
Well,
or
let's just say
something.
let's see what Clinton has seen. Like
Okay.
we saw him bragging about going backstage at the Miss Teen USA, Miss Universe, and Miss USA pageant, just inspecting women's bodies. We heard him say that his daughter has a great body, and then Howard Stern saying she's a piece of ass, and Donald Trump saying, yeah. We have there's a party that Donald Trump sponsored where the people that were invited were all teenage girls and older men. Donald Trump was 45. And then at the end of the little fashion show, they all got on the dance floor together and danced. We have now logs of him calling Jeffrey Epstein. We know that he was on the flight 7 times. And we know we haven't got to that one yet, but we also have deposition and court filings from a girl who claims that both Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein violently raped her on multiple occasions. Are we ready to dump that guy yet?
So
is this stuff disqualifying enough yet?
I'm interested in the obviously I'm all for releasing everyone on the list, the Epstein list. I mean, it needs to be out there, and I think that's a bomb that may never get dropped, honestly. But we'll see.
The
I mean,
black,
do you find it
like his
odd
black book of clients? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, all of it, everything
find it-
included, everything that's been redacted.
Do you find it odd that when Donald Trump was asked about stuff he would release, he's like JFK, yes, UFOs, yes, moon landing, yes, and then they asked him specifically about Epstein. He's like, I'd really have to think about that because there's a lot of stuff that goes on with that.
I'm
There's
gonna
a lot
find
of
it.
there's a lot of lies, and that part, it was in a Fox News interview. Fox News cut that out.
No,
They
I
didn't show
saw
it.
I saw it. I saw
I
it.
know because it went on Will. It was later posted on Will Kane's show, but initially they cut that part out.
Yeah, I think that. Well, I mean, I watched the interview, so I mean, I saw
I
him
saw it too.
say it.
Yeah.
It was,
So-
and it was. I was taken aback by that. I was like, man, what is that about? Is that about protecting himself, or is that about protecting something else, or is that, I mean, because that could be a real bad situation for people on the left and the right, right? I mean, it's who knows
but
who knows
specifically
is
with-
implicated in that.
But specifically with Trump, taking those comments with all of the other information, every other connection we have to Epstein, and there's a lot. Like they were good friends. They went to parties together a lot. He was riding on his airplane. Donald Trump has a history. He's obviously an adjudicated rapist. Jury of his peers found him to be so. There's been nothing but accusations against him. He said horrific things about his own daughter. Like, why is this not enough?
Well, I think Bill Clinton was a fantastic
I know,
president
but
and had a
why is
balanced
this
budget.
not enough?
No, I'm saying I think Bill Clinton was a fantastic
I know,
president.
but I didn't ask about Clinton. I'm asking you why it's not enough. As a father with daughters, how can you look your daughters in the eye and vote for this man?
Because likewise, I think that Donald Trump can be a great president and still be a bad guy. I think that many times throughout history, there's tons of really bad people that have done great things.
Yeah, so you're saying that abusing women is not disqualifying to the office for you.
Well, evidently it wasn't for
I know,
Mr.
but for
Clinton.
you, we're only asking you.
I
For
know,
you,
I mean,
it's
I think-
okay. Like you
I
can
think
abuse
that's a
women and
precedent.
still be president.
No, I think that's a precedent. I mean, I think Bill
I'm
Clinton,
asking
believe it or
you. I'm
not.
not asking about precedent. I'm asking you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't love it, man. I
I
for
know,
sure
but
don't love it.
the question I asked is, you're saying that abusing women is not disqualifying.
No, it's not disqualifying when the binary
Where is it?
choice is
Clint,
somebody who's
that's
a corpse.
disgusting.
When
Clint,
somebody who's the other
no, the
side is a
corpse is the
corpse,
better choice.
I
It's
can't get with
unbelievable
that.
as a woman to hear you say that. This is truly how Republican men feel about people with uterus.
I
This
just
is how
can't.
it is. This is, I mean, truly to you, the answer is that's fine. It does
It's
not bother you at all
no, it
you
bothers
guys
me a
would
lot.
happily elect somebody that assaults
No,
women.
please don't put words in
Cool.
my mouth. I'm unhappily electing Donald Trump. I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy
Well,
that these are the two choices at all.
well, look. I'm a father. I have a daughter. I could look my daughter in the face the rest of my life and say, "Look, I know. Let's just say Joe Biden was a disastrous president, like a lot of you guys think he is. That we disagree, but that's okay. Let's just say he's a disaster. Let's say Joe Biden wins, and the next 4 years are chaos because he loses his mind. If my daughter came to me and said, "Why did you vote for that guy?" I would say, "Because the other guy abuses women and the other guy talks about his daughter as an object, and I would never want you to think I would support that. So I chose the guy who doesn't do that." That's a good answer. What I couldn't tell my daughter is, after a Donald Trump presidency, she said, "Why'd you vote for him?" I wouldn't say, "Oh, the other guy was old. You don't get it. The other guy was so old. He was on a debate stage and he forgot what he was saying." Like that's not a good answer for my daughter. I can't look my daughter in the face and say that.
I mean, and that's the decision everybody's going to have to make. I mean,
And I
when we get
think,
to
yeah, and I
November,
think but it just be honest about it then. You like protecting women, it's not that high up on your
I don't.
priorities.
But see, that's yeah. I don't think that's not what I'm saying by
It
Yes,
making
is.
it
a vote
You're
is.
not
for.
saying it out
I'm
loud,
not
but
saying.
that's no.
I'm not.
If it was the highest priority, you wouldn't vote for him. So it's not the highest. What's above that? Like there's obviously things that matter to you more than protecting women.
I'm just highly concerned about what could be happening if we ended up with another 4 years minus however long.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I mean,
You care. Yeah, you care more about this perception. By the way, you're like your idea that 4 more years of Joe Biden would be bad. Like Joe Biden for the last 2 years, literally every indicator in our country has gotten better. Every single one. Like
he'll never make it 4 years, guys. We know that.
every economic indicator has gotten better. Across the board, we are on a trajectory of getting better. And you're saying like we can't maintain this trajectory of getting better. Therefore, I must put in somebody who abuses women
And it's
so
Yeah.
that he can cut taxes for billionaires.
But
I
Clint,
just
it's
don't
not
think
just
that's a good answer for
yeah.
your daughters. Sorry.
It's not just that he assaults or Trump assaults women, right? Like it's about bodily autonomy. It's about the fact that he's showing every indicator for your daughter is that he wants to establish a future where they have less rights. They cannot make decisions about their own bodies. Why would you want to set up that to be the future for your daughters?
I would challenge that. I don't think there's any chance at all of any kind of national ban of any kind. I mean, it's going to be in
Doesn't
the state.
matter. We already don't have women are already dying. What are you talking about?
In your
Clint,
state,
you're
dude.
saying, listen, you're saying that, hey, I'm fine that if in your state, right, your daughters live in Texas, well, in your state, they don't have control of their bodies, and you're saying that's fine. You're saying it's fine for some women in America to get to make it to have bodily autonomy and for some women not to. If that was the case, if this was happening to men, you would not be saying that, Clint. This just shows that you don't value women.
I don't know what the equivalent would be for men, honestly, but I mean, yeah.
Forced vasectomies.
Yes. For who?
You're pro forced vasectomies.
For who?
Anybody who can make a baby.
No, I'm not for that. Maybe we've got an essayer. Maybe we should put Donald Trump on the table. Maybe we should give him a forced
His shit
vasectomy.
probably hasn't worked in years, but yeah.
Yeah.
Again, but you're talking about it's okay to take women's rights away who have committed no crime. That's fine. But in order to take away men's rights, they have to be convicted of a crime. Do you see how even your own analogy isn't the same? Right? Those two things are not analogous. It's all women versus criminal men. I'm talking about all men. You want it like if you want to be serious about that, as soon as they hit puberty, vasectomy. They can get that vasectomy reversed when it's time to have children, when they have consent. And maybe a woman has to sign a consent form saying, I agree to have sex with this person who has undone their vasectomy.
Interesting idea. I mean, I'm of the mind that we need more people. So
interesting idea.
Yeah. Why not?
So you think the government should be deeply involved with our sex lives?
No, obviously that's not what I'm thinking. I mean, look, guys, if this was
to happen, but it's
if this
fine
was
that
an
it's
easy
happening to
issue,
women.
we
That's
would
the
have figured
issue.
this out 50 years ago. And obviously, the debate rages on. It's not just a one-sided issue.
No, it is. It's men versus women. Like women overwhelmingly, like 70% of women, and I think it might be higher than that. I think it's 78% of women
So
believe.
what's wrong
that
with
there
those
should be
30%?
Let me just finish. That there should be a federal right to abortion.
Okay, so what's wrong with the 30%? What they must be insane.
No, they're patriarchy.
What's wrong with these women?
Patriarchy.
What do you mean patriarchy?
Patriarchy. Yeah, the patriarchy tells them that
they can't have their opinion.
Don't ask the question and then tell me.
Go ahead. No, I'm asking.
Of course this doesn't include everybody, but yeah, like you look at the women who support this type of legislation. What do almost all of them that are in the spotlight have in common? Religious. And they believe that like the men and the women have different roles, and the women's role is in the home.
Look, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
I know, but that's patriarchy.
Clint,
so
everyone
just generally
is.
speaking, the
That's true.
patriarchy is what is standing in the way.
Everyone can have an opinion.
Okay, and I don't
hold on.
understand what the problem is with that.
The two sides of the argument, though, you're misunderstanding what's happening.
The problem is that. Oh, sorry.
I am not trying to. We are not trying to force anybody that believes that for religious reasons or any other reason that they does not want abortion to have one. Do you understand that? What pro-choice is about is every individual person has bodily autonomy and makes decisions for their own individual body. You're acting like the left is saying now everyone's getting abortions. Nobody is saying that, Clint. I'm saying I want bodily autonomy of my own specific body. I would like to make choices for this body. A religious evangelical woman can make choices for her body, and that's fine.
Yeah, I hear you, and I heard you say individual body. And here's the thing: look, obviously, I'm not a woman. I'm the worst person to make this argument, so I'm not even going to attempt to make the argument. I'm simply going to state what I've heard some of those 30% say. Okay. Some of those 30% females that I've heard talk on this issue, which again, I'm not qualified to talk on it, but I'm going to tell you what I heard them say. What they said is that when you say individual body, making decisions for your individual body, they have a belief that a once and forever unique DNA is also an individual body that is a human being.
No, they're lying about. No, they're lying about that.
They do believe that.
I can prove it. You want me to prove how I know they're lying about that?
What do you mean lying? It's a fact. That's scientific fact.
How many people do you know that have had a miscarriage? Like, if you could guess, is it more than 10?
Sure.
How many of those held a funeral?
Many. I mean, you want to say funeral, like inviting people to come and put something in a box and put it in the ground, which, by the way, I think is kind of silly anyway.
Yeah. How many of them
why are we putting people in a box anyway?
How many of them held a funeral, Clint?
I've never
because they don't view that as a person. They just, again, this is patriarchy. But more importantly, those 30% of women, if the abortion laws were that if in this country everybody had a right to bodily autonomy, those women who hold those beliefs, who think that if you get pregnant, you carry out the pregnancy, they don't lose any rights. So the problem I have with your position is you're taking a minority of the people. Let's call it 30%. I think it's or women. I think it's less than 30%, but let's call it 30%. You're saying that 30% of women get to force their beliefs on the majority, and it doesn't work the other way around. Nobody is forcing anybody to be pro-abortion. You can be completely anti-abortion personally and never have an abortion your entire life, and it doesn't affect anybody else. This is the problem, and that's the problem that we have with it.
I'd say
nobody is getting anything taken away by saying like, yes, women can have abortions. Nobody. But if you go the other way, millions of women are having their rights stripped from them.
The problem when you say nobody you're totally just dismissing completely the person, the human being that should be the most anti-abortion person, and that is the baby that's still in the
No,
womb.
they enjoy
That is
bodily
a person.
autonomy. You just don't understand the argument.
No, I do.
No,
I'm
they have
saying
bodily autonomy.
the
fetus has bodily autonomy. We grant that to them.
okay. So again, now we're to, when does
Let's
life
talk about it.
begin? We,
Let's
how
talk
many
about it.
weeks? Germany's 12 weeks. Is that
Let's
not
talk
long
about
enough?
it. No. Let's talk about
California's
it.
24.
If we're talking about the right to control your own body, Clint, do you have the right to not die?
Do I have the right to not die?
Yeah.
Like in what way?
Just in general, do you have the right to not die?
I don't really know that's a right. What is that?
Exactly. So for you, in order for you to stay alive, you've got to eat, you've got to drink water, right? Can you force me to give you water or to give you food?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Now let's say that you can't eat or drink, like you've got something wrong with your throat, and you need certain nutrients from me. Is there ever a scenario where you can go to, let's just say, your parents, to make this analogous? Can you go to your parents because they birthed you and say, hey, I need to be hooked up to your body and I need your body to sustain mine? Do you have any right to do that?
No, I would say that would be no.
Okay. So when we're talking about a fetus has every right to live. What they don't have a right to is to take somebody else's bodily autonomy and use it. You're granting special privileges to the fetus, not the same equal protections that we all have. And those special protections to the fetus only affect women. That's why we're against. So that's why I'm against. So I don't personally have to have, like, I've never shared my own personal beliefs about abortion, mostly because I don't have any. Like, I think that it's circumstantial, but I don't think that that's my right. I have no right to do that.
No, I'm with you. I would say we probably are very close to agreeing, really. What if
I'm not the one supporting a party who is driving legislation all around this country to take that right away from women? Again, you have daughters. How can you look your daughters in the face?
The bottom line.
Like, knowing in Texas people are dying, knowing that the infant mortality rate is rising now in Texas, how do you look your daughters in the face and say, like, hey, I know some of this stuff sucks, but it was more important to me that we put Trump back in office to cut taxes?
It's just obviously not an easy issue, as we all know. I mean, this is not cut and dry.
It should be the easiest issue
we've also seen in this
okay. Well,
country.
let me just push back.
Rights.
Let me just push back.
It goes to your value, how you place value or do not place value on women.
You're giving, okay, so that's an extreme statement that you just made. Let me give you an equally extreme statement. The Democrat Party wants abortion on demand all the way up to birth.
Party.
The Democrat Party?
Democratic Party. When you make a Democrat into an adjective, the adjective is democratic. That you're using a descriptor of a noun. Say Democratic Party. I cannot stand that MAGA. Thank you.
Party.
Well, in all fairness, I mess it up all the time too. She gets after me.
I would call that slang, but incorrect. You're absolutely right, Felice.
But that's not our position. I don't know. See, the problem I have.
No, whoa,
no,
hold on.
No, let me explain. The problem I have with the way that you frame our position is our position is that decision should be left up to the doctor and the patient. Okay?
Until when?
That's our only position until the fetus no longer requires being connected to the mother to live.
Oh, so 7 months we're good then.
Yeah.
Maybe 6. Maybe
how
6
many
months.
weeks
maybe 9.
Is the fetus viable to deliver without about how many? Like,
yeah, good question.
Whatever that point is, that's when they achieve bodily autonomy. As if they can live outside, not connected to the mother, right? That's bodily autonomy.
So I would say, I appreciate you guys saying that, but I would say that's not the party platform. That is not what the party platform is going to be.
You're wrong.
When you get to convention, that's not going to be the position of the party.
Wrong.
Guaranteed. Okay,
You're wrong.
Let's look it up.
Okay.
Let's look it up, and let's get back together after the convention, because I'm going to tell you it is going to be. Look, California is 24 weeks. Germany is 12.
Well,
So how many
Germany
weeks
is
should
not
it
in the
be?
United States, so I don't give
Okay,
a
but
shit.
they're supposedly so progressive in Europe,
They're
right?
not so progressive in Europe. No, there is a hard shift towards authoritarianism in Europe right now.
Right
That's based.
wing just took over
In
the
France.
parliament.
Yeah,
Vive
yeah,
la
Well,
France.
yeah.
no,
They don't like immigrants there either.
no, but the whole European
Yes,
parliament
they've
has
been
had a
damaged
shift to the
dramatically
right
by
wing.
immigrants.
No, they haven't.
Okay, well that's why you're seeing the wave that you're seeing in Europe. Look at
No,
France.
it's because there's people in Europe that are just like you, who are just easily scared, and you don't
Just
rely
like
on
me,
data.
uh-huh.
Yeah, you're scared of immigrants because of stories you've heard, not because of the data. The data says that those people are safer than white American citizens.
I just feel like that's
Do you go to church, Clint?
I'd like to see. I
Go to
would like.
church?
It's called. It's a Stanford study. It's
Hold
called The
on.
Mythical Tie Between Immigration and Crime. You can look it up.
I'd like to see these statistics.
Yeah, I just told you.
I'm guessing they were created by some folks that probably lean
No.
to the left. I'm
Look
just
at that.
guessing.
Look at that. See, you have already been. You're proving my point. You've been indoctrinated by stories, and the fact that data out there exists that doesn't prove your point, you've already decided that you've got to figure out how it's left leaning so you
I'm
can discredit
open-minded.
it.
I want to see it.
Well, then
I'm
why'd you
open.
bring up?
Yeah,
Why'd
it's
you
called
bring
the
up
Stanford
left-leaning?
Institute for
Look,
Economic
because I
Policy
don't,
Research, Clint.
guys, I
That's
don't
the
have a
name.
lot of trust for the system
It
at
doesn't
all.
matter. All you have to look at is data. You have a lot of trust in the Republican system, by the way, but
I
all you have
don't.
to do is look
I
at the
really
data.
don't.
And
I really
data's
don't.
this, like, your kids are more likely to be abused by a member of your family or a member at your church than they are at somebody who is here illegally.
Well,
That's
sure. I mean, come on.
statistically,
We're
that's
talking
just
raw
true.
numbers.
Let me
That's
just
sheer
read you one.
numbers.
Let me just
There's
read you one thing.
there's 350 million people in the country.
Clint,
Yeah.
let me just read
That's
you
not
one
fair.
thing.
It's not a fair comparison.
Okay, this is a Stanford Institute for Economic Policy Research study. It's called The Mythical Tie Between Immigration and Crime. Opponents of immigration often argue that immigrants drive up crime rates, but newly released research from Stanford economist Ran Abramitsky and his co-authors find that this hasn't been the case in America for the last 140 years. The study reveals that first-generation immigrants have not been more likely to be imprisoned than people born in the United States since 1880. Today, immigrants are 30% less likely to be incarcerated than are US born individuals who are white, the study finds. And then, and here's the sickest part, when the analysis expanded to include Black Americans, who we know are disproportionately policed, whose prison rates are higher than the general population, the likelihood of an immigrant being incarcerated is 60% lower than of people born in the United States. And this study goes on and on.
Okay.
It's very
All right, well, hold
detailed.
on.
I'll send you the link so you can
Please.
look into it. But yeah, I'm just telling you, and this isn't the only, it's not some rare study. There's article after article, study after study debunking the myth. That's why on Fox you see individual instances, right? Horrific crimes, right? I'm not saying immigrants have never committed a crime, and Fox singles out these isolated, heartbreaking incidences and hammers them home to fearmonger. But
So
does data match? Does it is there a correlation between rise in violent crime and immigration? Absolutely not, Clint.
I will make a commitment to you, Miss Felice. I will look at the information. I will study it to the best of my ability, and then I'll come back sometime next week and we'll talk about it. I'll bring it up, right? And we can talk about it. And here's my hypothesis. Maybe I'm totally off. Let's see if I can prove myself wrong. I think that they might just be including asylum seekers in that number.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Versus people that are just walking across and not surrendering themselves to somebody.
Clinton, this data goes back 140 years. Spoiler alert, you're wrong.
I'm happy to look at it, but I'm guessing that the numbers are being skewed in some way, shape, or form. I'm happy to try and investigate it.
All right, we look forward to it. We got a full box, Clint, so I'm going to let you go.
Hey, appreciate you guys. As always, great conversation.
Thanks. Big boat. Some say the biggest boat.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. We've talked to you once, right? But you are in the comments a lot.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, I'm glad to hop up here and chat one time real quick. I'm not going to be here long. I got to hop on some work calls. But got a question. All right. I'm not going to debate. I'm not some law theological claim to be the smartest guy on the street. But here's my question. We're talking about Trump earlier. and he did say some pretty terrible things about Ivanka. I can't disagree with that, right? That's kind of
Disgusting.
I would say Bush League disgusting a little bit. You know, I mean, as a parent, we would say, "Hey, man, I got a beautiful daughter," or you know, she's a keeper. We would compliment them, but maybe not in the same way he did. Correct?
Yeah, like we would say they had a great body and great legs. That's weird.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, just we would compliment our kids, right? So curious. You talk about today really kind of struck me a little bit, which every day y'all kind of strike me, but that's why I'm in here because I enjoy the chaos that y'all kind of give me every day, right?
You're welcome.
So check this out. You talk about Trump being disgusting and this, you know, he-man woman hater person, and you say, hey, would you, you said as yourself, as a dad of a daughter, I would never want to tell my daughter that I supported that guy. Okay. Here's my question. All right. As a dad, I also don't support grown men being allowed in locker rooms and bathrooms with my daughter who are in there because they are literally pervs looking to stir the pot. You get what
When
I'm
is
saying?
that? Do you have an example of a time that happened?
Nah, dude, why would a
No.
man want to be in a, why
No,
would a
no,
man,
no, 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 no. I'm asking. Do you have an example of a time that happened?
dude, just for instance, I've never been in a woman's bathroom, so I've never seen
I
a
know,
man.
but I'm asking you because you made a claim here, and this
Yeah.
is the problem that we have. Big boat. Just I'll just be real simple with this. It does not matter how somebody identifies. If somebody wants to dress up like a woman and go into the women's bathroom to harm people, they can do that without changing their gender, without identifying as a different gender. All of that can already happen. Those things are real. There are already laws against abuse. We talked about two of them already today. We talked about Jim Jordan and Joe Paterno. And at both those colleges, men were abused by other men in a locker room. Like, we're not saying that none of this stuff ever happens, but you tying it to somebody being trans is just silly because it could happen whether it's a trans person or not. But there's no pandemic of trans people out there abusing people in locker rooms and in bathrooms. Again, it's important to look at data. It's important to understand the issue. You're worried about your kids being safe in the public bathroom from trans people. I just think you should expand it. You should worry about your children being safe in public bathrooms, just in general.
Like,
Okay.
there's no correlation, right, between the LGBTQ community, right? Like, what you're doing is demonizing them, and you're saying that there's some sort of correlation between the LGBTQIA and predators. There is no such thing. I think because you're uncomfy and you might fear something or not understand it, it makes you feel like, oh, I don't understand this, so I don't know. But I promise you, if you look at people like who are children in danger from, it's almost always someone known to them, right? A familial relation or somebody that has access to that child. Like, if you're interested in protecting your child, I would look at actual data for how this stuff happens to children, how they're isolated, and how this can happen. It's almost always someone they know. But to imply, because that's what you're doing, you're implying that that the trans community are predators, and that's absolutely not true.
No, see, that's what's so easy for y'all to do is just accuse somebody. That's easy for y'all to make somebody
No,
out to be something they're
that's the
Hold on.
implication of what you said.
No. So the LGBTQ, I support it. I support gays. I don't care. Do your thing. It does not affect me and what I do with my family. All right. Whatever somebody wants to do, I support it. I'll clap your hand. I'll go to fight war for you. It does not bother me. You would just assume that comment meant I had something against that community, and I don't. I have
No,
who are in there.
Big Bo, that's not really what we're saying. Just to be clear, that's not what we're saying. We're saying that you tying that to when you say like protecting people in bathroom. We're just saying that you only specifying trans people, it comes off that way. And we're just saying that I think we all have the same issue. We want our kids to be protected. And I do think that oftentimes on the right, you guys aren't consistent with this because if a story comes out that a trans person abuses somebody or is violent, it is literally front page news on every right-wing news outlet. However, if it's ever a pastor, they say the same thing. Oh, that's not a true Christian. That's not a true Christian. They're not part of the movement. And I'm telling you, as somebody with trans friends who's talked to them, they would also, if any of their friends were abusing others, they would also say the same thing. That has nothing to do with trans people. This isn't a trans issue. That is a that person issue. If you're not going to advocate that all churches be dismantled, then you also can't advocate that other people lose their rights because of the actions of a few.
Jay, you're implying that I directly targeted the trans.
I don't think you did. No, I don't think you did it on purpose. I'm
You
saying
said
that the
they
way
can
that you
dress
framed
up.
it.
Yeah. What are
They
you?
can act like, but listen, there is men, grown men, who do not say they're trans going into bathrooms because
And they were just president. Donald Trump did that exact thing. A grown man walked into a locker room full of naked underage girls, and you're going to vote for him. You can't hold both of these positions. You can't be like, oh, we got to do something about this, and then vote for the guy that did that exact thing.
look, I just want to clarify, okay?
I want you to respond to that because you're going to vote for Trump, and Trump did that. So why are you voting for a guy who did that?
Look, I am going to answer your question. I just want to make it clear I'm not some homophobic cat that hangs in y'all's chat. That's not
fine.
me. Don't
That's
put
fine.
that on me.
Nobody has.
Okay.
I think you're taking offense to something we didn't
No,
say.
I take offense to Republicans, right? This is something the Republicans do, and you're repeating something that you've heard. This is the argument from Republicans, specifically MAGA. When talking about, I don't know if you understand how much legislation has been brought out by Republicans against the trans community. And that is the argument you made, that men are dressing up as women and going in bathrooms and not my child. So whether or not you understand that you are repeating a conspiracy theory rooted in bigotry, you are repeating a conspiracy theory rooted in bigotry.
All right, so that's why I don't anticipate and have not anticipated ever coming up and chatting with y'all. I just like to listen and make little gestures and stuff like that. I've seen it over and over and over. Every opposition comes up. You start name calling, the chat name calls. Y'all, hold on.
This is projection. No, because you did this. You said this in a comment on my video. We have not called you a single name since you've been up here. We keep trying to explain to you just like how situations work, and you keep taking offense. This is you. This is you projecting your feelings. Nobody's called you homophobic. Nobody's called you transphobic. We've simply asked questions, and I'm going to demand an answer out of that. Why do you think that's a problem, but you're going to vote for the man who did exactly what you're afraid of? Explain that to me.
Okay. So do I agree with Trump's decision to go into that dressing room? Absolutely not.
Okay.
All right.
But that's not disqualifying.
Look, no. So is there a lot of things to me, okay, that would disqualify Trump? 100%. I absolutely would.
But not that.
Huh?
But not that.
Yeah, sure that. Yeah.
Okay, then so you're not voting for him.
So, but do I vote for Biden?
Of course.
Why should I vote for Biden? You tell me.
He's not an adjudicated sexual abuser.
You never tell me what Biden's going to do. So we talk about this bodily.
Why does it matter?
Yeah,
if we're talking about this issue.
Economy, okay.
Yeah.
We say Biden's going to do this. Biden's going to do this. Biden's going to do this. Why hadn't he done it? Does he not have power to do it?
Done what?
Can't he make it an executive decision to say, hey, we are not going to take that right from women?
No, he can't. No, he doesn't have that constitutional power.
Why don't he?
I don't know if you understand the three branches of government. That power resides with the judicial branch. That's the Supreme Court's power. They ruled on it. Biden cannot overrule the Supreme Court with an executive order. Just think about how chaotic that would be. Imagine we had like a madman in office and he was trying to use the military to take over the country, and the Supreme Court said that's unconstitutional. He said vetoed. Of course, he doesn't have that power. Of course, he doesn't.
By the way, I support abortion. I'm all for it.
Well, there's another reason to not vote for Donald Trump then.
I'm all for it. Hey, listen, if it's for whatever circumstance, you say you're taking women's rights. Hey, me being married, been married 17 years. I've got an awesome wife. I would never want to have her put in a position to where she didn't feel like she could make her own calls in a doctor's office. I support it 100%.
Thank you. Thank you.
Look, there's probably a lot of Republicans that do support it, but they feel like they can't say they support it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I look, I left the GOP. I understand how hard it is, and you know as well as I do that if you were to switch sides, if you were to tell your friends that you're voting for Joe Biden, like most of them would be furious. Most of them would think you were crazy. I get that, but I'm just asking you. You have a wife of 17 years. You must love each other. I mean, what issue is more important than protecting your wife's bodily autonomy? If Joe Biden wins and Democrats win in the Senate and the House, we can protect the right to women's choice. If Donald Trump wins, we cannot. And so you've got to explain to me what the issues are that are so much more important that you're willing to throw your wife's bodily autonomy to the side in order to vote for Donald Trump.
Well, don't take this wrong. So we're not planning on having any more kids, so she'll never have to be faced with that judgment to make that decision, right? Does that make sense?
Well, what if you accidentally do?
I'm fixed. Hey, talking about
what if your wife is abused? Heaven forbid. What if your wife's out there, somebody kidnaps her, they grape her, and she gets pregnant? Do you think she should have the right to have an abortion?
Oh, absolutely. That's
what if it's past. Well, okay, but what if it's past? What if she doesn't know about it till 10 weeks and it's past the cutoff date that she can get an abortion?
It doesn't. They don't work. The exceptions don't work anyways. They're purposely vague. Think about it. When women say they're raped, in this country now, does anyone believe them? Or is there a prosecution? That's the point. Those exceptions are purposely vague, right? That's what we learned from Danielle, and that is so true. Like it's not. It doesn't even to say there's exceptions for grape or incest or life of the mother. They're not. They're purposely vague. We're seeing that they don't work. We're seeing women. Yeehaw! Thank you. We're seeing women be put in danger and be injured, and we're seeing women die because of this.
Right, but you got to also factor in how many times has it been proven cry wolf, and it wasn't right.
Wow.
There's ever been a time women have claimed they were pregnant and cried wolf?
No,
like, what are you talking about?
He's talking about grape.
I'm just saying.
Oh, Jesus.
It's just like when.
Well, we were talking about your wife. So in this scenario, it would be your wife, like she cheated on you.
Did everyone hear that though? I mean,
Yeah.
This is what the problem. This is what the exact.
Would you just not believe your wife then when your wife said that she was raped?
No, I would.
But what if everybody? What if the people what if then you go to court and you have to prove that this actually happened, and the attorney on the other side is saying no, the person said it was consensual. Your wife just cheated on you and she doesn't want to tell you about it, so she's trying to ruin this man's life all because she couldn't keep her legs closed. That's what Republicans would do to your wife. You've seen them do it to E. Jean Carroll. You've seen them do it to Christine Blasey Ford. You saw them do it to Anita Hill. You think Republicans would be on your side? No, they would slut shame your wife. They would say that she did this. She was asking for it. She was wearing a tank top. She was dressed provocatively. They would come up with any possible reason not to blame the man. You know that. You know that.
That's what sucks about court.
That's what sucks about Republicans.
Those arguments are both aisles.
No, they're not.
Just a right.
Give me an example.
Don't have examples.
Yeah, that's tough.
Well, I want to give an example because I think I have something to add to this. Because do you notice the difference, Big, about how when Jay frames it like, think about your wife, and then your answers change. And there's studies done on this. Like there's a Harvard study done where they would show men pictures of women they did not know. And the part of their brain that would activate was the part of their brain that's recognizing an object, right? And then they would show the same men pictures of familial relations, like a sister, a mother, a cousin, and the part of their brain would light up that recognized themselves, right? A human, a human being, right? Men, the only men that, or the only women that men can see as human beings deserving of the same rights of themselves are ones related to them. Like, ask yourself why, when you're talking about your wife, you can understand and say, I need to fight for this. But then then in the next breath say, well, my wife's not looking to have any more kids. So you don't care about all the women who might die and suffer and lose their rights. Like, you should keep that same energy you have for your wife, and you want to fight for her rights and you want to protect her. Keep that same energy for all women. That's what we need.
Like, and I don't disagree, but I'm not taking two different angles as far as what I believe on. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Maybe Jay's just asking the questions right. That's what he does for a living. He knows how to frame a question. He's good at it. Right? Jay, you agree? Nod your head. You're pretty good at it.
Yeah, sure. I hate compliments, so I don't know what to do with that. I appreciate it though.
I mean, like I said, I don't watch the news. I don't know if I told you that. I do not watch the news. I'm not a CNN, NBC, Fox, MSNBC.
Look, I've seen you defend me in the comment sections of my own videos. I believe you when you say that. And this isn't an attack on you. We're just trying to give you a different way to maybe think about this. And sometimes we have to personify things to recognize what the issue is, right? You have to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. What's her name? Is it Kate Cox? Is that her name? She was anti-abortion until she needed one to save her life in Texas. And then it occurred, like, even as a woman, then it occurred to her, like, oh shit, like, this is what's being taken away. For you and I, Big Bo, like, it is extremely difficult to put ourselves in that position. It was extremely easy for me most of my life to be like, yeah, like I think there should be a cutoff. I think there should be limits. I think that we need to have all these rules. But essentially, once I started doing this, and most of the team that works with me, most of my moderators, obviously my co-host, like almost all of them are women, right? And it just took me hearing their side of the story to be like, oh, like, I wish it didn't take that. I wish that I had thought of it before. I wish that I hadn't spent most of my life on the other side with that position. But once I understood it, it was easy for me to switch sides and just recognize that, like, hey, I can't advocate that other people in this country lose their rights because I'm uncomfortable with a personal decision. If I want people to be okay with me having my opinion and my own rights, even if they don't agree with me, I have to offer them the same thing.
No, I agree. And I'm not putting more weight on one topic or the other as far as who would make the best president. Okay. I've lived under Biden, I guess, let's just say 12 years, because he had 4 with Obama. And I know the VPs never really get acknowledged for anything they do. They don't really publicize.
Tell that to Dick Cheney.
He doesn't want the credit. he should get the credit. He doesn't want it. Anyway, keep going.
But I guess maybe from my perspective, I have to put all the goods on one side of the table and all the bads on one side and see what outweighs the other. I think everything.
What are the goods and bads?
Well, I just bought a truck, and I financed less on it than I did my previous Suburban, and my payment's higher.
Okay. Because the loan rate, like the percentage?
Interest rate, yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And
I even finagled the bank to give me a lower rate, and they went for it, and it worked out for me.
Okay.
So anyways, I got a really good rate. All right.
Okay.
So
could you, and again, because we're comparing things, that would come in, like, that adds to, like, why I'm voting for Trump, but even though women are going to lose their rights, like, that's
no. You can't just take one topic and go, all right, bam. That's
I know.
Where I'm at.
I said it's one of the reasons. Sorry, maybe you didn't hear that.
So, all right, another thing.
And you understand that the chairman of the Fed was appointed by Trump, right? This is the same chairman. and the president doesn't oversee what they do. They don't have any rights. So this is a Trump appointee.
No, I'm not.
Did you know that?
Yeah, sure. But
Okay,
here's
so
what
it's
I'm
kind of
saying.
hard to blame. So it's kind of hard to say like the difference between Trump and Biden is a guy that they don't have any control over that Trump put into office. And like, do you see how that would be a weird thing to blame Biden for?
100%. But what I'm saying is, if you take the 4 years under Trump and these past 3.5 years, you got to compare the two.
Well, you mean like 2.5 years of Trump, right? Because obviously you're not going to count the COVID years.
Okay, so we're going to shorten it up. 2.5
Okay.
years, how great it was.
Yeah.
Okay?
So let's compare.
I'm
Let's
cool with
compare that.
All right. So I'm just saying, you got to think, I'm just thinking very small, just nothing. It's really peanuts, but it's stuff that you have to factor in.
Like what? What else?
All right. Food cost,
Okay,
inflation.
let's do that one first. You said we have essentially like 10 years of Biden. Was food cheaper under Obama than it was under Trump?
I don't remember. Don't
It
really
was. Was gas cheaper under Obama than it was under Trump?
I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna say
It
no.
was. And guess what? Gas and food were cheaper under Bush, and then gas and food were cheaper under Clinton, and gas and like that's just how it goes.
No.
Right?
Bush
Prices go up.
Bush like to killed all of us when he was.
I know, but let's stay on
yeah.
this. Like
Well,
I'm
yeah,
just
no
I'm just
problem.
pointing out that argument isn't. I don't think it's a valid argument.
It's not an
And-
argument. I'm not arguing.
Not sorry. When I point like it's not saying that something is more expensive now than it was in the previous presidency. You can always say that. Literally every single time you can say that. So it shouldn't be something that you decide your vote on because it will always be the case.
The consumer price index goes up on average year over year by like 3.1 something percent. So that's what
They
he's
want
just
it,
saying.
yeah.
He's just saying prices will always go up. It's never going to be, there's never going to be a time where the next president, the prices are going to be lower.
All right. So, what about the? At this point, it really doesn't matter what I say. You're gonna have a comeback as to why something is, something isn't. So
Well,
I mean,
look, brother,
it's not
that's why I
going-
left. That's why I'm not a Republican anymore. Is because I kept losing debates. And I'm telling you, like I know it sounds silly to say like, oh, like just one side is wrong, but you are. This is why I left. You see how stubborn I am. You see how much data it takes me to change my opinion. This is why I'm here. Is because I was making all of your arguments and other people were making these exact arguments against me. And eventually I had to go, you know what? Yeah, like I don't have good arguments and they do. And so then I was a libertarian, but eventually I just had to own it. I had to be like, you know what? I was just wrong. And that's hard to do. I get that. That's difficult.
So I mean, there could be a lot of chat, but I mean, my whole thing is, man, when you're from my angle looking in, my whole perspective is I'm going to take care of my family, do what's right for my family, and whoever's elected, I say this, maybe I regret it. I don't think it's going to affect me as much as it would some, but
women?
I'm talking men, women.
Yeah, but it'll affect women more is what I was saying.
Middle
Like
class,
you're right. You
lower
and I are
class,
gonna
whatever.
you and I are gonna be the least affected.
I'm going to do what I got to do to take care of my family, support my family, to carry on, to not change any habits that we have as far as hobbies and things that we do, right? Recreational things. And I'm going to rock on. So at the end of the day, no matter who's in office, I'm going to do me and I'm going to take care of my family. And I guess my thought is I just expect everybody else to have that same mentality. As a man, I'm not speaking for women. As a man with a family, kids, take care of your family. Don't be lazy. Don't look for handouts. Get out and grind. It's going to suck some days. Do what you got to do.
I know, but I get that. This is a political stream though. And I'm just saying the best bet for your family, for the future of your children, You're out of your goddamn mind if you think that Donald Trump cutting taxes for billionaires, indemnifying the police, stripping rights away from women, and empowering the executive branch to levels we've never seen is going to be better for your family. It's not. You're not a billionaire. This is terrible for you. If you care about your family, and which I think you do, and you really want to do the best thing for your family, you've got to start educating yourself. You've got to stop pretending that this is both sides. Politics is all bullshit. You have to understand who you're voting for and what the implications of that are. And I don't think you're there yet. I don't think you yet understand the implications of a four years of a Donald Trump presidency. Go read Project 2025. Ask yourself, do you want to live in a Christian nationalist country? Do you want religion to be force-fed in schools? Well, heaven forbid you have a niece or a nephew or a child or a grandchild who is part of the LGBTQ community. You live in Texas. How are they going to be treated in the future if you allow this administration to take over? I think it gets substantially worse from you or for you, your entire family. I'm not saying that you're wrong for doing what's best for your family. I'm saying that you're wrong about what is best for your family. And it's going to take some time and some reading to understand that. But that's my opinion.
But don't you agree that both sides of the party are just blowing smoke, trying to make yeah, sure they are, man. Neither party's
Don't ask me if I agree and then tell me I can't have my opinion. I don't agree with you.
Your opinion. I'm saying mine. I'm thinking they're both of them are blowing.
Well, I watched the debate. Most of what Joe Biden said was true. It might have come out tough, but almost everything Donald Trump was a lie. There's a stark difference between like politics and maybe leaving out parts of the argument to make your argument look better and flat out lying. And Donald Trump flat out lies about stuff that we all know he's lying about too. Like we all know the election wasn't stolen. Everybody knows that. And he's still up there lying about it. We all know Nancy Pelosi couldn't have done shit about January 6th, but he's up there blaming her. And you guys just don't care. That's the wild thing. Like, no, you guys just don't care that he sits there and lies to you.
I mean, this come from his mouth. If he lied, he called the troops in 2 days before to be on standby.
That's a lie.
He called them off on video.
Yeah, that's a lie. She doesn't have if you understand a chain of command, right? The president's the commander in chief, right?
He is the chain of command.
Hold on, let me explain it. President's commander in chief, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so he's at the top of the chain of command, right?
Yeah.
Okay, who's next?
VP.
Then who?
Speaker.
Which would be Pelosi. Now, can she, if the VP and the president are not incapacitated, does she have any ability to call in the troops?
Apparently she does.
No. This is simple, dude. No, she doesn't.
Legally she doesn't. No.
Yeah, you know what she was doing? Calling Mike Pence and calling Mark Meadows, begging them to get Donald Trump to send troops, and Trump wouldn't take the calls. He was the only person. He and Chris Miller were the only people who could make that judgment and send in troops, and they didn't do it. And he's lying to you when he says it was Nancy Pelosi's fault. He's even lying to you when she says that she takes all the blame. That's not what she said. She said we should have done more to prepare for January 6th. And that's more as far as what she could have done. Right? Her very limited scope of what she could have done. She wishes she did more. And I think everybody there that day probably wished they would have done more beforehand. That's not uncommon when bad things happen to look back and say, what could we have done differently? I respect that, honestly.
So at what point on Jan 6 did Pelosi say she reached out for help? It's
on video. You can see video of her calling Mike Pence, begging him to do something.
Well, I don't.
This was during the attacks after she had been rushed out.
Yeah, so I don't look up stuff. I don't watch the news. It's all bullshit. Either party. I mean,
then just trust me from now on, and just let me. Yeah, if you're not going to do the research, just trust me.
Hey, what's your handicap?
I'm a +1.
That's a lie. See, I can't trust you. No, I'm just kidding. You probably are. You play a lot.
I'm good at golf. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So back when Obamacare come out, and we were saying, hey, you're going to be penalized and charged if you don't get insurance. How did that sit with you? You like that?
Well, at the time I was working for Mitt Romney's campaign, so I wasn't a big fan of it. I think it was ultimately ruled a tax. I'm a huge fan of universal health care. I would not support. I mean, I don't think Obamacare was great. I think it was slightly better than what we have because it provided health care for people who desperately needed it, who couldn't afford it. Healthcare costs were rising on average about 6% per year. And because of some of the mechanisms that he put in place during the Obama years, it rose at an average of like 3%. So it was rising a little bit lower, but no, it wasn't a perfect system. I wouldn't advocate for that system. It's largely still in place, but it's clear we need universal health care. And I think Medicare for all is the best option.
So, whenever, Obama terms come up and we're having to pay for insurance and are being told they're going to get penalized. And there were people who were penalized. I had people who said, I'm just going to pay the fee and
Yeah, you
move
get
on.
penalized if you don't pay your taxes. That's kind of how this works in this
Insurance.
country.
I'm talking about insurance.
No, it was ruled. The Supreme Court ruled that was a tax. Just so you know. So the Supreme Court ruled that taking that money out of checks and those fines it was a tax, and if you didn't pay it, then you got fined. That's why there was a fine. So it was technically, according to the Supreme Court, those were taxes.
So is that still an implication now? That's still a law? If you don't have
No,
insurance?
Trump undid some of that.
So what's the terms on insurance right now? Health insurance.
What do you mean?
Like, are we still made to have it like we were?
No, well, Republicans removed the penalty, so it says that you are, but there's no real penalty for not doing it.
Gotcha.
We need health insurance, right? And it shouldn't be about a penalty, right? We should have health insurance because why? We know that preventative care saves money. Like, that's the issue. We need to provide health care to everyone and allow people to get preventative screenings, because what happens when we go off like emergent care, like right now, uninsured people, they wait until they're in so much pain and something's wrong, they show up at the emergency room, and that costs us, right? That costs the taxpayers, that costs the federal government way more money than if we were looking at preventative care and catching things early. That's why some insurance companies, they incentivize you to go get screenings or don't charge for the screenings. It's because preventative care is overall to the taxpayer, or in general, cheaper than emergent care.
Yeah, I agree. I've had family members that directly affected where they didn't have insurance and they wait. And then when they do go get checked, it's like 10 times worse.
And insurance shouldn't be tied to your job, right? Like, essentially in this country, we're at a place now where we all grow up, right? We have to choose a corporation. We have to sell ourselves to them. We sell ourselves to a corporation for the right to what? Survive, to have health insurance. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. And if we are capitalists in this country, which I think the majority of people are, and you're into capitalism, the number one way we could succeed at capitalism would be to keep our workforce healthy. We should be keeping the workforce healthy. And medical bankruptcy is the number one type of bankruptcy right now in America. We're all one medical crisis away from being broke.
So what universal health system would y'all want to mirror from what country? Like Canada? Y'all like their system?
No, I want to mirror our own. You take Medicare that we currently have right now, which has a much higher satisfaction and outcomes than private insurance, and you expand that for everybody. So essentially, the U.S. government, their job is just to pay your medical bills. They're not necessarily making decisions for you. They're not paying the doctors, but it allows us to negotiate as one group. Our prices will come down significantly. And at the same time, you've got to then tell Big Pharma, like, there's a cap on your profits. Let's call it whatever you want to be. Like, you can make 40%. Whatever it is, there needs to be a cap on that. Get rid of private insurance altogether unless it's elective, so people can add that if they want elective surgeries. But yeah, Bernie Sanders Medicare for All is the most simple. It's a program that we already have. All we have to do is expand it to everybody else.
So do you feel that you would still receive the same treatment based off of it being more governed, I guess, maybe?
Shit, dude, I'm self-employed, man. Like, I have like a cost sharing insurance plan, but there's certain things that if it happened to me, it's just going to bankrupt me for life. I'm toast. So yeah, basically what would happen is you would go to the doctor. There's no copay. There's no deductible. You go to the doctor, you get checked out. If there's a procedure done, they send that bill to the government. The government sends it back. It makes us a healthier country too. Like, the amount of people who wind up passing away from things that could have been prevented by regular screenings is astounding. The amount of people who choose not to go to the doctor because they don't have the money is astounding. We could get rid of all of that, and we should. We're the most powerful country on the planet. We have plenty of money to do it. We could tax to do it. We could cut spending many other places if we wanted to. But what's more important than that? And we can't even get it done because Republicans need to keep protecting those private healthcare companies that make billions.
Insurance lobby. It's ridiculous. And think about capitalism, right? Like, who do our insurance companies have a responsibility to keep us alive? No, who's their
not the companies.
Nope. Yeah, their fiduciary responsibility is to their shareholders and specifically not to keep us alive. Imagine that. Like, at least the government has an incentive to keep the United States workforce alive. That's what rescission is. I mean, literally, it's people denying claims, denying claims, denying claims. I had a friend that did that. That literally, I mean, the depression they were in at what their job was to do, essentially, just deny people the right to healthcare. And that's the point. The point is not to help us or to keep us alive. It's to deny us as many life-saving screenings and procedures as we need in order to pay the shareholders, the capitalists, their money.
Yeah,
Big Bo, we gotta run here. I'll give you the last word. I do appreciate you coming up. I know you're busy with work
come
most of the
back.
time. I appreciate you. I've seen, like I said, I've seen you defend me in other comments before, so I appreciate that. But I'll give you the last word.
And I followed you.
Yeah, so I don't really have any last words. I got like 100 last words, but I mean, the deal is, hey, appreciate y'all chatting, and I'll try to hop back up some other time. It's been a pleasure, and y'all have a great 4th. Even though you don't like the flag, still celebrate it.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So I suspect that you're not going to be drinking and hanging out and enjoying the 4th since you don't really like the flag. But anyways, just
He's talking. I know what he's saying. Yeah, it's good. You just give that flag an extra hug for me. You do double. You do double the patriotism for me. Okay.
I got you. See
All
y'all.
right, brother. Be well.
Bye.
Bye. I think from yesterday I said I don't give a shit about the flag. Like I'm respectful to it, but it's not something I think about. Let me read some comments. Stephen Page says great
No,
great
we
job.
said the Pledge of Allegiance yesterday.
I did say that about the flag though too.
Yeah, I know. I've heard you say it.
Oh, Chris says this is for the great work you do every day. We all have legitimate grievances, including MAGA. However, Donald Trump has proven he's not the answer to those grievances. Keep up the good fight. I agree with that.
Thanks, Chris.
Sharon says, question, with new SCOTUS ruling, can Biden now codify Roe? We covered that. No, I don't know of a mechanism that he could use. Any thoughts on that?
Well, no, yeah, and it's about how not to be prosecuted in the future, right? Like, I don't think, yeah, no, there's still checks and balances.
From Sue, men, if you are more than 20 years older than the woman you are flirting with and she smiles or laughs, she is just being nice to you. She doesn't want to have sex with you. This is true 99% of the time, but I know you just see the 1% chance.
Wait, say that. That's hilarious, Sue. That's awesome. That made me
Jennifer.
and that made my day.
So grateful for you guys on TikTok. Smartest team ever. Thank you. I don't know about that. And then Deani again says, from listening to MAGA, it must be nice to only have to worry about money and not your daughters, wives, sisters, etc. Half the population or any other civil rights, then have the nerve to cry about gas and groceries. That's fair.
And just be painfully wrong about the economy as well. Like Trump, in 4 years too. Look up at who added debt by president. Trump is one of the highest, and he was only in office for 4 years.
Yeah. Hugo says, if you join Lumberjack tonight, I'll send $150. I don't know that Lumberjack would let me up. He is not a fan of mine, and I am not a fan of him. But I may try if I have time. Lola says, why did the cop go to the protest early?
Why?
To beat the crowd.
That's an amazing one. And Lola, love you. You're the best.
And from Madison, your genuine respect for women is appreciated. Thank you. I think like I said before, I think I'm fortunate that I work with a lot of very strong women, women who would never allow me to steamroll them if I could, women who point out when I say something wrong or point out when I do something that is problematic. And then, I had a daughter, and that made all the difference in the world. I will not sit here and pretend that I didn't hold the exact same views that most of these MAGA men come up with. every day. Like maybe not quite as extreme, but I don't think that those were my views for most of my life. So men, you can change. It's fine. It's in fact, when you do change, you find out like people respect you more. Nobody stops respecting you when you decide to side with women. Nobody
Respect
stops
women.
respecting you, right? They respect you more. Other people respect you more. You don't have to hold on to the disrespect. It's not helpful. Speaking of disrespect, Greg.
Cults
What's
and
up?
the
Felice, how
culting of
you doing?
America.
Good, man. How
I'm
are you?
just
Like it.
glad to say hello to Felice and Jay. Just wanted to mention to you guys tomorrow, Daniela Mastinik Young and Scott Lloyd will be launching their new podcast, Cults and the Culting of America. It's going to be really good. It's going to be available anywhere you would listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple, just anywhere.
Is she the one that was on Faxes Live?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
love her. You guys, this podcast is going to be amazing. Sorry, I rarely plug a podcast, but this woman is truly amazing. She was like a captain
Oh,
in the army and also was in a cult, the Children of God cult. I mean, super intelligent, amazing writer. Like, one of the best lives I've ever seen listening to her speak. So
oh,
amazing.
it only gets better. You know, the the episodes that are already finished are amazing. It's just if you're interested in the cults at all, it's definitely worth your time. Also, I wanted to let you know. I'm going to tilt this so you can kind of see here.
Maybe we can listen in the Discord or something.
Um, there's another podcast that's getting ready to launch too. It's the
The
Cold Dead
Bend Out
Hands,
Arrow, too.
Ben Out Arrow, and Brett Cross. And Brett was the father of Uzziah, who was one of the children that was a victim in Uvalde. Theirs, we're hoping to probably have it available Friday is what we're shooting for. Definitely before Saturday morning, but we're trying for Friday. Ben may be in the comments actually, but that's another amazing podcast, and they're going to be continuing on too. What they'll be doing is the first episode is of course Brett's story, and then from there on, it's going to be different survivors from mass shootings and stuff like that. So I just wanted to mention to you guys that's going to be a really good one also. But
A lot of people are
that's Brett
asking.
Cross and Bend Out Arrow.
Yeah, a
Yes,
lot
sir.
of people are asking about the first podcast. Guys, The Cults and the Culting of America is the name of the podcast.
But
So the first
Yeah.
one that Greg mentioned is The Cults and Culting of America. The second one is Cold Dead Hands. Is that what it is?
They're asking
Yeah,
what the woman's name.
yeah.
It's Daniela Young, right? Is that
Daniela Mastinik Young.
yes.
She's on
Well, I don't know how to
TikTok as
how do
Group
can you
Behavior
spell
Girl.
it? Can you spell the middle name so people understand?
Oh Lord.
So Von Swede spelled it in the comments, everyone.
There you go. Thank
Von
you, Von
Swede
Swede.
spelled, yeah, that's we probably wouldn't have got that spelled right.
No, I probably would. I've been spelling it over
And
and
what's
over.
her
and
name
I
on
always have to look
TikTok?
back.
What's her name on
Group
TikTok?
Behavior Gal.
Group Behavior Gal, if you want to
Yeah,
follow Daniela Young on TikTok.
yeah. And she's got a Patreon, and actually, if you go to my link tree in my bio, would lead you to her Patreon. There's a link in there. And that's where you can go and listen to Un-American, or you can order her book, which was Uncultured, which was about her time in the U.S. Army as a captain of military intelligence, plus her time as in the cult Children of God. And yeah, I just wanted to come up because I know people that will be traveling. It'd probably be a really good podcast to throw on
Is
and
it coming
pass
out
some
at
time.
midnight tomorrow? Just at midnight, or when
I'm not
coming out?
sure exactly what time it hits, but everything's put together and it is scheduled to launch tomorrow. So by in the morning, it should be available. Yes, ma'am.
Amazing.
Amazing.
I'm so excited.
Greg, thank you for all that you do, for all the help you give us and other creators. Just so you guys know, like Greg basically
Yeah,
just acts as
amazing.
like an unofficial facilitator to help left-wing creators get traction, be aware. He does it all out of the goodness of his heart. You truly are like such a good friend to us and to others on TikTok, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Jay. I really appreciate it. And you guys have a good evening. As always, facts still matter. 6 o'clock.
There we go. Facts still matter. 6 o'clock. Thanks, Greg.
All right.
You're
Yep.
amazing, Greg. Have a great day. Jen got him.
I think I got him. I
Oh.
got it. There was one more message I think that came in. Kel said, "Thank you and Felice for everything that you do." Let me make sure I got all of them.
This was a good day. I feel good about today.
Good. We did it. I
It's only
may
going to
go
be
li-
116 in Phoenix tomorrow, so we're going to have a great day.
Yeah, I may go live tomorrow. I don't. The 4th of July is my least favorite holiday. Not just like in Arizona, it's 3 trillion degrees. It is not fun to be outside on the 4th of July. So it's just like another day to be inside. It doesn't feel that different. So I may go live at some point tomorrow. Felice has taken the day off unless she changes her mind at some point.
I might
She'll let us
too.
know.
If we have something to talk about. We'll talk about. You know how it is. We'll play it by ear.
Yeah, 116. She wasn't lying. 116 degrees is what it will be tomorrow.
We'll
Other
be
than
fine.
that, the replay for this live can be found on YouTube. It's at RTV Talks. If you head over there, make sure you subscribe and like a video while you're there. If you'd like to join the Discord where we drop all the links that we share, and people sit around and make fun of me a lot. If that's your cup of tea, learning things and making fun of me, shoot me a message. I'll get you an invite to the Discord. Did I miss anything else?
Nope, I think that's everything. Happy
Okay.
4th. We probably may or may not see you guys tomorrow. Stay
right, guys,
cool
now-
and cute.
9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time. You can find us right here on TikTok. We'll see you.